Okay, but it's like something's happening today, and I don't know what it is,
Oh,
but
great.
it feels like the opposite of Mercury being in retrograde, which maybe I'm jinxing it, but it feels like the air is lighter. I'm feeling nice today. How are
Oh,
you feeling?
good. I mean, I ate like 16 cinnamon rolls, so I'm not feeling particularly light, but I am glad
But
that
you're
you're
feeling
feeling
good.
I'm feeling great and you're feeling zesty, which we were just doing the ads and Em was like, I woke up and chose chaos, and I was like, I'm 3 hours ahead of you and I'm not even prepared for this type of energy. So I don't know what is going on your end, but there's
I don't
something.
either. Something chemically in my brain is probably different
Well,
today.
we've known that for a long time on both our ends. So
I Yeah, I don't last week was like super stressful for me just for a bunch of different reasons, but
that's
I
what you said
lost a
in the
lot of
last episode, which is hilarious. You literally said last week was really stressful for a bunch of reasons, and this week is so much better. So
well,
hopefully this
guess
week you
what? It
actually
happened
mean
again.
it.
I did. I mean I it was a really stressful week last
Oh
week.
no.
And so I ended up losing a lot of sleep, which you know what's weird is I'm always sleep deprived. I think right now I'm not sleep deprived, and that's what's happening.
You
I
literally are
think
repeating, unless I'm having like the most intense deja vu, you're saying the exact same thing you said last week, which is wild. Like verbatim
really
almost. Yes.
I don't remember saying any of that,
You were
but
like, which is weird
okay.
because I'm always sleep deprived. Like you had the same. Maybe you're way too sleep deprived and you're just not even realizing it.
Maybe maybe I am so sleep deprived I've actually gone back in time and I'm hang on a second.
I
It could
think
get
you
really
just.
crazy
I
really
don't think it's
fast.
that. I don't think it's that. I think you've just
The
lost
Sci-Fi
all.
Network owes me a call so we can pitch an idea here.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll try.
Um
We'll try for that. Is that why do you drink this week, Emmethy? Tell me.
I drink because I really just feel like weirdly energized. Like I woke up today at I woke up before we recorded for fun. Like that's very odd.
Oh well, your
Something
hair
is
suggests otherwise. No offense, but you do have a little
no,
benefit going on.
it's because I showered at night. Usually I have to shower in the morning for
Aha,
my hair to
yes.
not
Then it
get a
does this
little
thing.
yeah. But anyway, I've been awake for a while, so maybe I'm just feeling actually energized, and that's why I'm like on a whole other level today.
Oh
I
well,
also drink. Oh,
I
go
was just
for
gonna
it.
say maybe you're energized because of the thing that I think you're
Yeah,
about to say, which I guess now you
yeah,
can go ahead and say.
yeah. Okay, so we found out that we got nominated for a Webby.
Yay! We're
Ah!
so honored. We're so honored and so amped and so excited. And oh my goodness gracious.
I am super stoked. My mom is also super stoked.
Mine too. She
Um,
started crying. I was like, don't cry. You're teaching online right now. And she's like, everyone's going to cry with me. I was like, no, they're not. They're not.
I yeah, I also when I first called my mom to tell her, she went, "I'm busy right now. Can I call you back later?" And I went,
Ouch.
"Okay." No, it's super awesome to be recognized a second time. It's really heartwarming. And so anyway, if you would like to vote for us, we're in the comedy section for podcasts. We're at vote.webbyawards.com
Or
and
bit.ly. We made a whole bit.ly, remember? And we can share that.
ATWWD vote.
bit.ly/ATWWD vote is an easy way to get there if you want to try and memorize that. But yeah, so right now, at least when I just refreshed it, we're at 69% of the votes. So actually don't vote because I'd like to remain at this exact spot. Um,
69 can be our minimal. Like
okay, fine.
that's our limit.
That's
But
our bar.
yeah, I am nervous because it's voting has only been up for a day, and so like I wonder if like all the and that's why we drink fans are just super on top of it and everyone else's audiences are gonna like catch up
Swarm
later.
in. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm very scared. But anyway, I for the meantime, I'm very proud of us and I'm very excited.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone who has voted. Spread the word, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your teachers, tell your
Yes.
dogs.
Tell your dogs especially if they have like a Yahoo account. And we're up against some like dope names. I mean, we're up against Nicole Byer, Sarah Silverman, like some really like how did this get made? Very cool. I'm like I was just beside myself how cool this is. So we're very honored, very excited. Um anyway, also, what was I going to say? I feel like what was I going to say? Oh, you didn't even notice I have a new microphone here.
I didn't. Where'd your old one go?
It's over there. So hopefully
Are you
this
just collecting these? What's going on?
yes. Hopefully this audio sounds okay. Zandy and I had to get new equipment because we're recording in person now for Beach Too Sandy,
Ooh.
and I forgot to put my old mic back, so now I have this one. But I'm actually kind of liking having this like little army guy swinging
It
around. So
it looks sleek. It looks very sleek.
oh, thank you. So
Mhm.
hopefully the audio sounds as normal as usual. We'll find out the hard way if people complain.
It does to me. Sounds nice. How does
Oh,
mine
thank
sound?
you. You
Low
sound
key trash.
high key trash, but
Thank you.
only in the best way. I wore a headband
Thank
for
you.
you too, speaking of trash.
Ah! You look damn good too. I I'm always so paranoid about my audio just because I'm literally it's in a makeshift box with a shirt on top. So I always get a little nervous. But um anyway, why do you drink, Christine?
Oh, I was just gonna say because Webbies, because I have this microphone and I'm nervous about my audio too. Um, that's about it. I think. I mean, it's I know why I drink. It's snowing here.
Yeah, I've been hearing about this a lot from the Duggars, which I know they're in
Oh,
Arkansas,
vey.
but I just have assumed a lot of the East Coast is kind of dealing with this. I've seen a lot of people posting Instagram pictures of random snow.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not good. I got a notification this morning from Google News that was like, Cincinnati breaks 120-year record of snow this late into April. I was like, great, celebrate, I guess. But there was literally snow on my car this morning that I had to like swipe off. So it's not pleasant. And it's going to be 81 on next Tuesday. So it's confusing, but that's okay.
almost
We'll
as
live.
confusing as that time there was that bomb cyclone that we had to deal with or whatever. Remember
We
when
got
it
like
was like
trapped in Denver. Yes.
it was like the perfect weather when we rolled in and they were like, "Oh, in 10 hours it's going to be a blizzard." And I went, "What?
We
That
thought
makes
it was
no
some sort
sense."
of April Fool's. It wasn't. The Uber driver made it very clear he wasn't joking. It was actually going to be terrible times.
We were clearly new to the town.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but yeah, okay, well I mean all good reasons to drink, but
Thank
I
you.
will say the Webbies really we're still at least I'm still on a high from yesterday when we found out. I like called all my friends. I was like, "A second time. It's so cool."
It's very cool. I can't believe we pulled this off. We tricked him
I
again.
know. Anyway, so thank you to everybody. Okay, well then Zach Bagans obviously had to make an
I need
appearance.
to make sure the audio comes. Oh, here we go. Okay. I just had to show my blanket off if you're watching on YouTube.
I
Got
thought
my
you were going to
ZB
test the
blankie.
microphone. I thought you were going to test the microphone by holding Zach's face over your face, and then you would talk as if you were him. So I'd be having a podcast with Zach.
My name is Zach Bagans. Does it work? Is it working? I can't see.
It looks so badass.
It has like a heart around his head. Very badass. I'm sure he would
you're
appreciate this.
you're gonna go back and look at that later, and you're gonna have a good time. Don't worry.
Oh boy. Good for me. Good for future me. Anyway,
Christine, you know I love a good hunk of meat.
I do.
Okay, well, sometimes when I mean, between my steaks and my chickens and all this good stuff, it's really hard to find 100% grass-fed finished beef, free-range organic chicken, or heritage breed pork, or wild-caught salmon at the grocery store. And also, let's not forget how expensive this stuff can
Mhm.
be. But we have Butcher Box, which I gotta tell you is like my brand new favorite sponsor we've ever had. I
It truly.
lost my mind when I saw it at my door. I went, "Oh hell yeah, it's gonna get weird in here."
Yeah, this is M's favorite sponsor. No offense, other sponsors, but when this arrived, M was like, "I'm on board here." And I mean, as a pescatarian, I got the seafood box, which I will say is also incredible.
So Butcher Box is a no-brainer. It's the best meat shipped right to my door, which means it's one less trip to the grocery store. We both know I don't really like going anywhere. I know we all know that I really like eating meat. So if it's just gonna show up at my door, this is heaven. Christine, go.
M is in
Go.
Meat Nirvana. For a limited time, ButcherBox is offering new members a free essentials bundle in their first box. That's 3 pounds of chicken breast, 2 pounds of pork chops, and 2 pounds of ground beef, all for free in your first box.
Just go to butcherbox.com/ATWWD. That's butcherbox.com/ATWWD to get a free essentials bundle in your first box.
So, folks, the FabFitFun Springbox is centered around the theme Grow Forth, not Go Forth, which is M's girlfriend's last name and my BFF's last name, but Grow Forth, which both are excellent choices. I'm ready to grow forth with my Springbox this season.
I'm sure Allison Goforth is also excited to grow forth. FabFitFun is passionate about showcasing amazing women and have 20 female-founded brands that are in the Springbox this season.
So I personally love Pure Cosmetics. That's one thing that I've been like really on board with lately. I also got this cocoa floss. I didn't know what to expect, but now I'm actually flossing every day and I'm getting a refill of it really soon. It's my dentist is very pleased. Anyway, you can also order your Springbox today. Sign up now so you can snag amazing products like the cocoa floss or Pure Cosmetics, whichever one floats your boat.
Use coupon code DRINK for $10 off your first box at www.fabfitfun.com.
That's coupon code DRINK for $10 off your first box at www.fabfitfun.com. Well, I'm ready to be regaled. Am I using that right?
I think so. But you're not gonna be regaled.
Why?
Because Christine, apparently this energy I have right now, which I'm shaking in my boots a little bit. This is an energy I'm not used to. I'm used to feeling so sluggish. I don't know what happened. But
I'm tired as hell, so what are we doing?
I think maybe I'm like the vampire of the day and I like sucked your energy out.
Probably.
And I'm just like, is this what people feel like when they aren't tired? I don't know what's going on. Also,
I don't either. I'm scared.
Today.
What is that?
A London fog. So maybe that's also what's boosted my energy is like, I have a drink I love next to me. Okay, so the reason I say you probably won't be regaled is because whatever this energy is, I think started yesterday when I started doing my notes and I was just like, I was there, but I wasn't focused the right way or something. This is a story that nobody asked for because I thought I was covering a topic everyone asked for and then found out after I went done that it was the wrong topic.
What does that even mean?
So to the people, the masses, if you will, I've heard your cries and everyone wanted me to cover this thing called the backwoods theory, which I don't know anything about still.
I have a guess that we're not going to find out either.
You will find out next week as a reward for this, because I thought the whole time it was called the Backdoors Theory.
What?
And so and also like, so that I was doing this whole thing, I learned a lot about this thing that shockingly there is something called the Backdoors Theory. So I got led astray and just started doing that. And then at the end I was like, why did people want this? And then I found out no one has.
No one wants this. Wait, why? Is it bad? Is it boring?
No, I was just like, it doesn't sound topical. I don't understand.
Okay.
But like everyone in my Instagram DMs, my Twitter DMs, people have been like telling me on Instagram lives, like during Movie Monday, everyone's like, you got to do the backwoods theory. And I'm like, okay, like it's something must have happened for this to have resurfaced.
That must be topical or timely. And now the backdoors theory, which I also don't have any clue about, is probably not that, is what I'm guessing.
It's not that. It's not. I'm shocked. I feel like I bamboozled myself. The fact that there is something called the backdoors theory. And so I was like, okay, found it. And then just like never even thought to double check people's requests until the end.
God.
So anyway, here's the backdoors theory that none of us wanted.
Wait, actually, I'm going to request it right now because now because I feel like we'll hear about the backwoods theory if it's so timely, but backdoor theory, like I want to know what that is. Excuse me, I'm requesting the backdoors theory, and I have a bigger vote than everyone else. I get 69% of the vote, and I would like to vote for that story. So please regale me with this fascinating theory.
Thank you. Well, done. Okay. So also because this had nothing, because nobody asked for this, is also like has nothing to do with paranormal.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with
you really did choose chaos, didn't you? Oh my God.
I can't, I said the backdoor theory existed. I didn't say it had anything to do with my normal material. So,
is it just like biology?
I just thought people
topic.
It kind of had something. I was waiting for aliens to show up because it's about astrophysics.
Oh my
And I kept
God.
being like, where did the aliens come up? Because obviously people are asking me to cover this. So it's about black holes. And so then there
that's
is a
kinda
section,
cool.
it's about black holes, but then there was some theories. Every time I got to a new part, I was like, oh, this is the part people really care about. But then it was kind of a dead end. But like there's some talk of like alternate realities and stuff. So I was like, oh, this is what people wanted. It was like just vague enough that like I kind of thought that made sense, but it also doesn't. So anyway, if you wanted to learn science today, you're gonna
by somebody who learned it yesterday, by the way.
Okay, but I feel pretty confident with black holes, just so we're clear.
Also,
Because
like, this is my jam. Okay, like I am I'm actually very excited already for this. This is my jam.
well, also this has a weird webby connection, so I thought it was just like meant to be.
What, Neil
Because I
deGrasse
learned a lot
Tyson?
of I learned a lot of it from him. And at the last time we went to the Webbies, I got to meet Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I was like, okay,
Pretty
that's
cool.
a sign.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so anyway, let's learn.
Listen, we create our own reality on this show, and you either join us or you don't. I don't blame
You're
you
gonna
either
have
way.
if you're on your way to like a date, or if you're like trying to impress somebody, you're new to a relationship, this is gonna make you sound real smart. Like you're gonna have a real fun fact tonight to blow their minds. Okay, the Backdoors Theory. So first, I'll just say that the theory comes from a study in 2016, and it's from like I think it was the Institute of the Corpuscular Physics. Okay, yikes. The thing I'm a master at now. And in 2016, there is a study from there that suggests that black holes are basically backdoors to other universes.
I'm excited.
See, that makes me think like, okay, we're onto something.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I'm
people want
amped.
that. Basically, what a black hole, do you know what a black hole is, or what is it? What do you think of when you think of a black hole?
Geez, I feel like I should. I find space fascinating, and it's where the matter is so dense that I don't know. Tell me.
Damn, that was a good first sentence.
Well,
Good
I mean,
half
I like
sentence.
vaguely know, but I don't want to say it because I'm going to sound like I don't know anything about corpuscular physics. You know,
Christine, that half sentence alone impressed me because I wouldn't have been able to give an answer. So
that's
the fact
about
you just said matter and dense, I went, holy
yeah. I know
shit,
that
she
it's
does
where
know what she's talking about.
matter gets. Listen, then there's wormholes, but okay, I'm sure you'll get into all this. All right, go ahead. Sorry, you
Okay.
tell me the definition.
So I'm going to give you an A+ on just even knowing anything.
Yay!
Okay, so according to NASA, black holes are, quote, a place in space where gravity pulls so much that even light cannot get out. And the gravity is so strong because matter has been squeezed into a tiny space.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. Got it. Even light can't get through.
Yeah. So basically, when a big enough star dies, here's a quote, its core collapses and a funny catastrophe happens. Even something moving at the speed of light can't escape from this region of space. And when that happens, everything collapses down at its center. So you've created a black hole, and over the next trillions upon trillions of years, all it will do is grow, eating whatever falls inside.
Ooh, spooky.
So, fun fact, black holes are not black.
Oh.
They are more or less invisible. But since light can't escape, they're referred to as dark and therefore black.
Got it.
They are seen with a certain type of telescope where researchers can track the stars and the gas around them. And there are 3 different types of black holes, according to NASA. So there are primordial black holes, which are likely to be created when your universe is created. So when a universe is created, so are the primordial black holes. And they are the smallest ones. So they range, a given broad range of from an atom to a mountain.
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you see a black hole and you're like, that's the size of nothing at all, or Mount Everest, they're like, oh, okay, that's a primordial black hole.
Don't even worry about it. A+.
Next time you see one, Astronaut Christine, let me know.
Size of a saltine? I know what that is. Primordial.
Then there's these stellar black holes, which are the most common ones, and some of them are even in the Milky Way. And they range from mountain size up to 20 times bigger than the sun.
Oh, okay.
So
mountain is a vague term. So I guess if it's bigger than Mount Everest by like a couple feet, you know where you're at now.
But like a given inch or two, yeah.
Okay.
And then, as if 20 times bigger than the sun wasn't the biggest size that exists, there is also supermassive black holes.
Supermassive black hole.
I like how the first one was called like Primordial and sounds very like fancy, and then they're like, yeah, super massive.
It's so big. Like, you guys don't get it. It is so big.
They might as well call it like the so fucking big black hole.
It says sound a little bit like Megan invented the term. By the way, that song by Muse is one of my favorite songs ever, in case you're wondering.
Oh, perfect. Well, listen to that while we learn about. They are the largest, and they are, I guess, range from 20 times bigger than the sun to forever. I'm not totally sure.
To infinity.
And NASA says that every large galaxy probably has a supermassive black hole at its center. Fun fact.
Interesting.
The one in the Milky Way is called Sagittarius A.
Hey.
And it is the size of, this is apparently a legitimate fact. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around. Sagittarius A, which is, I think, our supermassive black hole, it is the size of 4 million suns. How do you measure that? How do you
measure that? That's so. And did you round up or down? Because you had to have rounded. There's no way it's specifically
exactly 4.000
right?
million suns.
There's some estimating and rounding going on here. I'm sure of it.
And at that point, you might as well say like 100 million suns. I'll never know the difference.
No, we're not gonna test it.
So anyway, what is the purpose of black holes, Christine? So according to The Atlantic, here's a quote. Basically, they said that black holes actually won't hurt us at all.
Really?
And it said,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I always fell for the lore of like one day Earth is just gonna get sucked up by a black hole. Yeah. So The Atlantic, there's an article in there that says, quote, if anything, we benefit from their existence. The stellar explosions that produce black holes also spew elements such as carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen into space. And the collisions of black holes and neutron stars help spread heavier elements such as gold and platinum. These elements make up our Earth and our own selves. Supermassive black holes in particular might play an important role in star formation with galaxies.
Ooh, okay.
So we've all got a purpose. That's what I just learned. So NASA says, like, with my fear of like, oh, Earth is just going to get like eaten by a black hole one day. NASA says black holes do not just go around inhaling planets.
They just go around. They just troll around on their tricycles, like inhaling everybody.
They apparently no black holes are actually close enough to our solar system anyway to eat Earth if it would eat Earth. So it's not going to do it, and even if it could, it's not close enough.
Got it. Okay.
Even if the sun were to randomly turn into a black hole one day, because the sun is a star and they form from stars collapsing within on themselves. If the sun turned into a black hole one day, it's not possible because it's too small. So I guess it wouldn't have the energy to do that.
Oh, okay.
And also it's, even though I think of the sun as very big, it's light enough gravitationally where we would just orbit around it, not actually get pulled in.
Oh, interesting.
So,
I mean, it would probably screw up our whole, environment and everything, but I guess we're already doing that. So
yeah, we would not be okay, but we at least wouldn't get eaten by a black hole.
I feel like if we're not going to be okay, we might as well get eaten and see what happens, Like, if we're not going to live, throw me in a black hole, maybe I'll end up on the other side.
Exactly. Bingo. That's where I'm at. I'm glad we feel the same way.
I'm so glad I'm your TA now because I've just promoted myself.
Look, that information alone, you could really entertain a first date. I'm just saying. Or like,
let's try it.
You can go downstairs and be like, hey, Blaze, Mr. I know everything about medicine. Let me tell you a tale or two.
About space and supermassive black holes.
So here's the here's the pre-Backdoors theory. So like before this theory came about, Einstein's theory of general relativity said that the center, or I guess the theory is that the center of a black hole is where the gravity is the most intense. Time and space essentially end. So once you find the center of a black hole, space time just vanishes. It just fucking goes away.
Cam. How freaky is that?
And this center point of a black hole, this like critical point where gravity is the most intense, it is called a singularity. So if you say like the singularity of a black hole, you're like, oh, the most intense fucking spot.
Okay.
AKA, since time and space end apparently at a singularity, if you fell into a black hole, there would be no time or space anymore. And I, with no true understanding and yet complete certainty, can tell you would die.
Oh no. Wait, are you sure? I feel like we would just not. Could you die, or would you just?
So if the original thought was if you fell into a black hole, your remains would just kind of just be like at the bottom, like the pit of a black hole, and just stay there for eternity. Like you would just kind of like hit it and not be able to get out. But in the 1970s, Stephen Hawking proved that black holes, time and space doesn't just end, it just slowly vanishes at the singularity center point. And therefore, in theory, I think he actually proved it, you also would vanish away. So it's not that you like your remains would just sit at the bottom of a black hole. You would literally just
cease to exist.
Just evaporate. Yeah.
Wow.
And so this is where my main man, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who gives a lovely handshake, by the way.
Babe.
I went up to him and I said, like, I used to in high school, I thought I wanted to get into quantum physics, which is hysterical.
You're proving your point now. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I wanted to be like, my high school dream was like one day I would be involved in the creation of time travel. And then my physics teacher was like, it's already been created. And I was like, well, I guess I need a new plan.
My physics teacher was a real asshole. I said I was fascinated in quantum physics after I like had rented that movie, you know, What the Bleep Do We Know? And he was like, you're not cut out for science. Ha! And then he laughed. And it was really mean. But then it was almost like karma, because there was like a projector pole and it swung down and hit him in the head.
Ew.
And he started gushing blood. It was actually really terrible. And then
that was me on my first time travel journey, actually.
Oh, you came to save me. Oh my, what if right now you're like, I'll be right back, and then you like vanished and you were like, I just swung a projector into your teacher's head after he said that mean thing to you.
Wait, my brain's breaking a little bit. The energy that I came with today can't tolerate that right now.
I'm so sorry. I'm making this so much worse. But then he got it repaired. Okay, so the repair person came down and fixed the pole. It's like, you know, those big ones, and it swung one side and hit him. And
hey God, I'll be right back. And then I'm back. What happened? What happened?
So then we're all sitting there, and it was like the next day or the next class, and the fucking things. It was like it really was like you were there, like fucking detaching it, unscrewing the screws. The screw fell out. The thing swung and hit him in the head. I mean, this guy got hit twice, and then we found out later, which I didn't know at the time, he had an anger issue that he was like working on outside of school, and I think he was about to punch a hole in the wall, and then this kid Sergio in my class laughed, and then we all started laughing, and it was actually like really bad, and he kind of cracked his whole head open on that pole. So sorry about that. Anyway, point being, that's where my dreams of being in quantum physics died that day. So.
At least it's a memorable exit. Like
it was a memorable exit.
But my big thing was like, I wanted to get into time travel, and therefore, anyway, this is a long tangent to say, when I met Neil deGrasse Tyson, I said, like, in high school, science was my favorite class because of you. And he shook my hand, or he was one of those people who didn't just shake your hand. He just kind of held your hand, and you could tell that it really meant something to him, even though he's probably heard it thousands of times from much smarter scientists. And
I like how you say much smarter scientists as if you're a smart scientist to begin with, and then much smarter scientists also.
Today, as we discuss black holes, I am a scientist.
Got it.
Let's just put it that way.
I just picture him like holding your hand and being like, "And what do you do?" And my child, and you.
Well, I want a Webby tonight. So I wasn't in science.
Self-deprecating comedy. How's that? I made it. I made it big time.
I'd just be like, well, I loved science because that doesn't mean I was good at it.
I talk about aliens, I guess. That's sort of on brand.
Okay, so anyway, So Neil deGrasse Tyson, when talking about what happens to your body if you were to fall into a black hole, he has an answer for that. He starts out by saying that and this is a YouTube video. I think it must have been some sort of TED talk or conference. He was clearly on a stage giving an audience a speech. He was saying that the old adage of like what comes up must come down. He was like, in space, that's not true. It's only in the context of Earth does that make sense. And this is a quote of his. With rockets with high enough speed, you can send anything so far that it never comes back. And for Earth, that speed is 7 miles per second. And 7 miles per second is considered the escape velocity. So if you move as fast as the escape velocity, you can escape Earth and not come back.
Okay, bye. Hang on. Finally, my
Wait a
answer.
minute. Everyone, find your own escape velocity and let's just all shoot off into the air.
Finally, NDT gave us an answer, and I'm out of here. Bye.
I wonder if he like cracks jokes with his wife, like, "Oh, I'm only 7 miles a second. Like, this has been a rough day. Give me 7 miles a second. I'm out of here." And like, there's like all these weird little like science things he picks at when he's being self-deprecating.
Well, I know that's what you would do. I don't know that he does that, but I guarantee that's what you would do.
It's about to be something I do.
Yeah.
So for Earth, that speed is 7 miles per second. We call it the escape velocity. At 7 miles per second, anything could go to the edge of the universe.
Okay.
Whoa.
Edge of the universe.
That sounds like a really cool band name.
It sounds like Muse's next album.
So in a black hole, though, so on Earth, the escape velocity is 7 miles per second. But in a black hole, the escape velocity isn't, I mean, it's faster than the speed of light because light can't even get out, remember? So like the speed of light isn't fast enough to get out of a black hole. So, and then this is a quote of his. So if light doesn't come out, nothing's coming out. It's black. You fall in, you're not coming out. It's a one-way trip. Okay.
Okay. Geez, I get it. Oh my gosh. He really made that hit home.
He had a point and he delivered it. So then he said, the next question is, well, okay, so you're stuck in the black hole. So what happens? How do you die if you die? Because I think the leading thought right now after Stephen Hawking is that you vanish. So what happens once you're in the black hole? So he goes on to say, given the theory that in a black hole you would vanish, Neil deGrasse Tyson says, you die way before you end up just disappearing in the black hole. So like you do vanish eventually, but first you die. You don't get to experience the vanishing.
Damn.
Very quickly you will feel the space around you literally tearing you apart.
Oh, okay.
That's because the gravity in your feet and the gravity in your head are so different that your feet are being pulled into the black hole faster than your head. So,
no.
So soon, I'm paraphrasing here, but soon the forces will be strong enough that they will be stronger than the forces that hold your flesh together.
Okay.
AKA your bottom half will literally tear away.
Oh boy.
And then he says, you will survive that.
No, wait, what do you mean survive? I don't think you'd survive that.
Well, he says because
torture.
He says your top half will survive for a little bit because it's the one with vital organs. But here's a quote of his. So your torso will stay alive for a little while until you bleed to. Yeah, it's the top half with your vital organs. So in theory, you could survive it. But he says your torso will stay alive for a little while until you bleed to death. But don't worry, this all happens much faster than that. So in theory, you could survive it, but something else is about to happen in space so that you won't even be alive to make it out.
I was scared it was going to be like, and time is so slow that you experience every millisecond of it. That's where my head went. I was like,
somehow you made it so much worse.
That's what I thought
so
we were
quickly
heading toward, but obviously that's just my own anxiety talking.
So now you're ripped in half, and in theory, you're able to survive this tearing.
Sure.
So now the forces that were so strong on your body that tore you in half, let's think of it as like a funnel. A black hole is a funnel. So as you're falling deeper into it, the force is getting more and more intense because you're eventually going to hit the singularity, the center point that is the most intense point of the black hole.
Right.
So as you're falling, you're getting closer and closer with more and more intense force. So if you ripped up here, as you fall, you're going to just keep ripping.
Ugh.
So he called it bifurcating because apparently you just keep splitting into twos. So
Really?
so it was your top and then your bottom, and then each of those split into two more pieces, and then two more pieces, two more
What?
pieces. Let's see. So since the singularity is, I started improving there, so I got to find my spot again.
Got some ad lib astrophysics over here.
That goes to show you, by the way, that I know what I'm talking about. I didn't even have to say on the notes.
Certainly does.
So, oh yeah, my favorite quote. So he says, as you're splitting and splitting as you descend further and further, quote, that will continue until you are just a stream of atoms descending toward the abyss. And it turns out that's not the worst of it.
Stop.
He said, it turns out the fabric of space and time funnels, like I said, down towards the black hole. So basically, the further down you go, the smaller the space gets. So even eventually, if you're only atoms, the singularity point of the black hole is still smaller than you as a collection of atoms. So you eventually still won't be able to fit through it.
What?
So this is another quote of his. So while you're getting stretched apart, you're also getting squeezed and extruded through the fabric of space. And apparently that they have a name for that kind of death, and it's called spaghettification.
No, come on.
So you're a little spaghetto.
You're a spaghetto.
A spaghetto. And this has nothing to do with it, but I thought this was a funny way to end that talk. He says, one thing we're good at in English is having words for ways to die. We have a word if you kill someone else. We have a word if you kill yourself. A different word if you're killed by electricity. Add spaghettification to it.
Spaghettification is number one.
Yeah. So thank you, Neil deGrasse Tyson, for that lovely ending to a conversation. Like I said, it was originally thought if you fell into a black hole, your remains would sit at the bottom. And then Stephen Hawking proved that you would just vanish with it. Eventually, once you were broken into a million atoms and squeezed through into the singularity or the center point of the black hole. But according to Mike.com, Stephen Hawking and two other colleagues later also discovered, this was I think it was around the same time. I actually don't know what years this was at all, so don't quote me on that. But so Stephen Hawking, the last thing we had heard was he proved that you could vanish through it. Mm-hmm. But him and two other colleagues later discovered that there was probably, quote, soft hair on black holes, which is basically, what was the quote? Soft hair is a layer of particles that record information about objects that fall in. So basically, black holes have receipts on the shit that goes in it.
Shut the front door.
So
the back door.
So basically, if you were to fall in, there'd be information on that black hole now of like, oh yeah, Christine went into the black hole.
It's like taking notes.
Inventory, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There's another theory. Oh, so this is where then the Backdoors Theory comes in. So in 2016, which felt recent enough, it's within 5 years, and that's why I thought people like maybe were into this all of a sudden. Okay, whatever.
No comment.
No comment. So in 2016, there were 3 physicists named Gonzalo Olmo, Diego Rubiera, and Antonio Sanchez. And according to Science Daily, they all looked at the singularities. They all looked at black holes singularities. So I guess they were like, what the hell? Why does this exist? Why does everything funnel into this one spot? Mm-hmm. And they decided that, black holes, the way we look at it, maybe we're not looking at maybe we're not looking at it compared to similar structures, or maybe the shape of it is wrong. Like, how could we look at this in a different way? So they ended up looking at black holes as if they were crystals.
Oh.
Because crystals have so many imperfections in their geometric structure. They were like, maybe the singularity of a black hole is just a random imperfection in the black hole. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be there at all. And so I think if I'm saying this right, I could be totally butchering it. And if you happen to be one of these 3 renowned physicists who listens to this podcast, please let me know if I fucked up your study.
I guarantee you're not, but just in case, I guess.
Just in case. If I fucked it up, I'm sorry. But by my civilian, very poor understanding of this is I think they were looking at the geometric structures of crystals and noticing how lots of the lines in a crystal will like kind of go in on itself and then split off at the other end.
I see.
How they
Okay.
have so many, the structure is just kind of so random with a crystal that like it looks like it could be closing in on itself, but then you can see that the lines in the rock will split on the other end in a different direction.
Could
And
it
they were
be
like,
how? Oh, sorry.
no, go for it, go for it.
Could it be like how when you shine a light through crystal, it'll refract in the opposite direction because like
Probably.
Floyd?
I mean, I literally did not read the paper, so I don't know what other information was in it, but I would bet they practiced and studied light on that. And that's probably something they talked about.
Okay.
It would make sense. I mean, that's a great question. If these singularities in black holes or space-time, if these singularities are similar to the anomalies in crystals where the lines close up and then reopen or split off, maybe the center point in a black hole also closes or opens or splits. And this would mean that black hole singularities could then be wormholes.
Aha, open on the other side. Got it.
Yes. So if this is true, then it answers the mystery, because scientists to this day were like, how does matter just fucking vanish if you fall into a black hole? Like that matter can't be
created nor destroyed.
Oh, damn, are you sure you're not a scientist?
I'm telling you, I love physics, and my teacher was such an asshole. Sorry, no offense. Well, kind of offense, but he really was not a nice man. So I just kind of whatever. I was like, fine.
So anyway, scientists were like, yeah, like where the fuck is all this going? You can't just vanish. That literally breaks science.
Sure.
But
yeah.
so if these singularities in a black hole were wormholes, then it would explain that, oh, the matter still exists. It's just on the other side and we can't see it.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
And so instead of vanishing, you just pop out on the other side of this weird anomaly, the center point of a black hole, and just pop out, and they don't know where you would pop out to. So they think it could be another part of your same universe, or you could pop out into a another universe, an alternate reality.
Amazing.
So so to break this all down, if all of this is correct, you fall into a black hole, you would spaghettificate as you fall into the as you fall closer and closer to the center point or the singularity of a black hole, and then you would pop out reassembled on the other side of this wormhole.
Oh, you would be reassembled.
I think their way of thinking of it is like, if you're falling this way, then when it splits this way, you would reassemble. I mean, no one can see me if you're not on YouTube, but if you're falling into a cone, on the other side, the cone is going
hourglass.
Like an hourglass. Yeah. I think they just assumed the reverse would happen on your way out.
Because then my question is, what about your soul? What about the things that aren't physical? Like, do those come with you? Do they reassemble? Has that already left you? Is that even part of your matter? Is that separate? Oh my gosh, I have so much.
Those are all great topics. I mean, no, because when I was really into like science back in the day.
All the scientists listening are like, you guys stop acting like you're scientists.
Well, I don't think I'm a scientist, but back when I was 16 and had high dreams of getting into science, one of my big things that I was obsessed with was teleporting. And all of the things that I had, I remember I did like my senior high school thesis on teleportation.
Wow.
And for all intents and purposes, for a 16-year-old, I fucking was able to explain teleporting very well. I was very proud of myself. It's like one of the only papers from high school that I kept. I still have a copy of it. And but the biggest issue of that was, well, okay, if you teleport, where does your soul, where does it go?
Being moved. So what does it come with you? Right. That's a really good point.
They always thought of it as like a fax machine, where it would just be like a replicated version of your soul, like a carbon copy. So it's like, what are the moral issues with that of are you willing to lose your original soul only get a facsimile, a facsimile of it? Even then, then that really gets into philosophy and religion and spirituality of if you recreate a soul and have a fake version of a soul, then what happens after that? Can you not come back? It got really
the original soul, because you don't lose a copy if you fax something. Does it stay behind? Is it a ghost now? Then we talk about ghosts. Can you be a ghost even if you're a facsimile of a person? Fascinating stuff.
It really, it was so overwhelming. I think that was the first time I experienced anxiety. And then
Oh,
I had an existential crisis of like, I cannot learn any more about this. Also, I think you and I would have been excellent friends if we were both stoners in
I,
high school.
if we were both
Can
stoners, indeed. I was not, nor am I, but if I had been, wow, what a time.
So, okay, so let's get back to wormholes. So, you would spaghettificate, and then, as in theory, he would reform. And we are ignoring the question of souls right now.
This is what Ems and my sleepovers are like. Truly, we're like, well, what about if you like we're not stoned, but I think we act like we are. It's really a fun time for like us
it
and probably no one else.
it's fun to be able to ask questions with zero judgment.
Right, that's true. Exactly.
So, so yeah, so this answers the mystery of how space and time and matter just vanish, because instead of vanishing, you just come out on the other side.
Right.
So wormholes were theorized back in 1916 for the first time. They were originally called white holes.
Oh,
Funny that there are white holes at the bottom of black holes. I don't.
really interesting.
Fun fact. So they were called white holes, and they were originally seen at. So this might also explain why people think that if you fall into a cone and break apart, then when the cone starts to grow it all over again, you would reassemble. Because back in 1916, when they called it a white hole, they considered it a theory for time reversal in a black hole.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I get it now. I get it. I get it. I get it.
It feels like almost a cosmic way of what comes up must come down. Like what breaks
Yes.
apart must reform.
Totally.
So Einstein and another physicist named Nathan Rosen, they went on to suggest that it wasn't actually a white hole that was a time reversal of a black hole, but it was actually a bridge through time and space in general, which
Wow.
I don't know I'm totally guessing here, but I would imagine a bridge through time could be a time reversal of a black hole. Like that, they sound
Makes
similar
sense.
enough to me. So, no wormholes have been discovered to date, just so we're clear,
Oh,
which is
really?
weird. I thought wormholes were just like rampant in space. I
It's like that old meme of like everyone made me think quicksand was quicksand traps were all over this world and they were
yeah,
so dangerous. It's like the same with wormholes.
I just
We
thought
talk about it
wormholes were
so
just an epidemic in the sky.
much.
So, not only could wormholes connect multiple universes with some theories, but some scientists also believe it could connect to different points in time. So,
What?
Stephen Hawking does not think this, in case you're a big Stephen
Oh.
Hawking follower, but wormholes into other times and universes does mean the literal existence of a multiverse. So,
Mm,
in this case, if you believe in the multiverse, which I do,
me too.
apparently you and Stephen Hawking would be debating at the dinner table.
I wouldn't be debating. I would say, you're right. I'm wrong. Trust
I'd be
me. I'm
like,
not going to try to debate you, sir. Good sir.
I'd be like, you're probably onto something.
I think I am a big, big fool and I should wear this dunce cap in the corner. Enjoy your meal, sir.
So now multiverse theories. How could this be possible? So these are a few that the BBC mentioned. There are 3 different types of multiverse theories. There are a few others, but these 3 were the only ones that I could really wrap my head around and be able to explain to another person. So there's a patchwork universe. That's one type of a multiverse where basically the universe is infinite and our universe happens to be like a patch on the quilt of time and space.
Mm,
So the patchwork theory is that there are several patches or regions in the universe and we can all only interact on our own patch.
gotcha.
So if we saw another universe or saw another patch, it would break our brains because we're only supposed to know about our space, our world. Which, like, by the way, if that's true, can you imagine how many how many patches are there? Like, if it's infinite, like, does that mean that it goes forever? Are there 100 Christine and M's that are just all lined up on a quilt in space?
Oh, how beautiful would that be, though?
Think of how many lemons there
A
are.
quilt of you and me, a lemon for each season. That's my new poem.
Hang on. Whoa, that was think of how many Mothman slam poetries we've had.
It's beautiful.
Well, so the theory with a patchwork universe is since there are so many, and I'm a big believer in the multiverse, so I've definitely thought of this theory a few times. But if all of these universes, if you're next to a universe, if the one next to you is so similar except in like one small way, and as you know, as the universes get farther and farther away from you, they differ from you.
Mm-hmm.
So like the universe right next to us could be exactly the same, except like the sky is green and everything else is the same. And then as you get further and further away, there's more and more differences. So that's part of the patchwork universe of that. They all kind of are a gradient of.
Oh, gradient. That's a good point. I like that word.
Yeah. So the lives around you are more similar than the ones farther away.
Got you.
So like on the exact opposite of our infinite universe, I love Lemon and you hate him.
No. Now, you know what? I don't believe it. I no longer believe in the multiverse because that
Stephen Hawking was right.
Impossible. Mr. Hawking, I knew you were onto something.
So another one is the inflationary multiverse, which is basically the Big Bang. I never thought about this before, but it is such a concept. It really kind of broke me last night. So the inflationary multiverse is that if the Big Bang happened for us, it could have happened a million times over by now for other universes. And we just don't know about those Big Bangs and those universes that were created. It could have happened countless times. It could be happening right now. I don't remember, I don't know the science well enough, but people did say we will never be able to prove this because in order to go into these other universes, you would have to go through black holes, aka be faster than the speed of light. And by the time we got there, the Big Bang of that universe would have already happened. So there's no way we'll ever be able to guarantee this. But the theory is that there's an infinite amount of Big Bangs going on in universes around us, and nonstop, consistently, our universe is getting bigger and bigger for infinity.
Ooh, okay.
Tell that to a stoner.
I don't think I will. I think that's dangerous.
The next one is my favorite because it's the most precious to me. Is called cosmic natural selection.
Uh-oh.
So
it doesn't sound sweet.
So this was proposed in 1992 by Lee Smolin. And basically the universe is its own living, breathing thing that evolves over time and can create its own universes. So we are from a bigger universe, who's from a bigger universe, who's from a bigger universe. And the only way you can create, if I were a universe, the only way I could create a universe.
You are my universe.
If I wanted to create a universe, like make a baby universe, the only way you can do that is if universes are created with a black hole. So it's almost like the birth canal, if you will. So only universes with black holes can produce another universe. Which I guess makes sense because if you have a black hole, then you have, in theory, a wormhole attached on the other end that can keep like branching off and branching off. Yeah.
Right.
So if a baby universe cannot properly create things, and they call it natural selection, because if a baby universe cannot properly create things like planets and matter, then a black hole might form. It might be one of those imperfections in the structure because it's almost like it has like, a dimple, like a mutated gene or something. Because, I knew you would rub your little. So if it had some sort of genetic, I don't know, cosmic genetic flaw to it, a black hole would show up in its spot, maybe like a birthmark or something. And then through that birth defect, I don't know, it could then create a baby universe, which sounds like backwards survival of the fittest to me, because only if you have an imperfection can you carry on the line.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was really just kind of sweet because now I'm thinking of like a universe in a diaper. Like,
okay, well, I was just thinking baby universe sounds very precious. It sure does.
There's other theories, but they intimidated me. So those are just 3 of them. There's one called the brain multiverse. Then there's the quantum multiverse, which I could not even get into right now. And then there's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I could talk about for way too long.
Yeah, let's not.
That one would overwhelm you more than quantum mechanics.
I think maybe I would pull my hair out. Yes.
So now very, very quickly, this is only one bullet, but I did want to give a shout out while we're in space to Xenon. And so then there's the theory about aliens that if we can let's say we could find a way to get ourselves into a black hole and we wanted to fall into a wormhole onto the other side, which I'm sure at one point in, thousands of years from now, maybe we'll be able to figure out. But if we can use black holes to time travel, which in theory is possible, so could other species. And so in 2019, the Metro said that some scientists theorize that aliens are already doing this, and they are hopping in and out of either our space or our time, or both, our space-time continuum, which is interesting because that means that like aliens that, alien stories from like the 70s, it would make sense why they saw such a futuristic looking UFO, because they just hopped into a wormhole. I mean, then again, maybe they have advanced technology, like who fucking knows, but it would be another interesting plot point of like, oh, maybe they're from the future and hopped in through a wormhole and found themselves in our universe,
or from the past and they're just trying to see what's going on. Who knows?
or
wow,
from the
that's
past.
fascinating, because now that that goes into, well, I don't know if it does, but I'm going to force it into the thought of like some people believe cryptids are, can enter and leave this plane of existence, so maybe they're coming through and out, and that's why we can't catch them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people wanted me to also cover this, but
are you sure?
Yes, this one I'm sure. In a quick little 10-second shout out to what people have been asking, is that there's apparently random doors throughout the woods that have no explanation. And so some people think it's like an art installment across the world, or like it makes no sense. But some people think that's how like cryptids go in and out of different worlds
with like a literal door,
into a wormhole into the next universe or whatever. But so anyway, so that one I have not covered yet, but that it's interesting that you brought that up. And this is literally the Backdoors Theory. So
interesting.
But yeah, so scientists have theorized that aliens could, quote, be hopping across the universe using black holes to blast their spacecrafts closer to the speed of light, and therefore they can travel through time and space. And they can also probably do it invisibly, since if they're going through a black hole, which has to be faster than the speed of light, then it almost, just like how a black hole is invisible because light can't get out, their machines and their aircrafts might also be invisible. And that's why a lot of people say they can't see them, or why they're flying around in the sky and you can't see them. Maybe it's because they harnessed the energy from a black hole to power their craft, and therefore they're still invisible to us.
I wonder then why sometimes we see them. Do they want to be seen? Are they making a mistake like that praying mantis who thought he was invisible?
I think of it as if Xenon wanted to be invisible right now. It's almost like going through a black hole is also like going to the gas station and refilling on the energy. And so like you get to be invisible for a little bit, and then like as your craft gets more visible, you're like, gotta go to another black hole soon. And then that would explain also why you only ever see them for a second, because they got to go back to the gas station. I don't know.
What? And that is not a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote.
I'm just trying to think of it as like if they're using the black holes to even harness the energy to propel themselves into our universe, then, and that is what makes them invisible. If I'm trying to explain away why people only see it sometimes, I would imagine that's like their way of seeing that like the low gas symbol on their car of people can see you got to go through another black hole. I don't know. It's a totally random thought.
Fascinating.
It's the only way I can explain it, which is I'm already taking a lot of leaps and bounds here.
Because then I wonder why sometimes they vanish in front of you though, like just poof.
There was a gas leak. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You're really asking me to.
I'm sorry. Now I'm just
on the fly here.
I'm sorry.
No, I genuinely have no idea. But the official theory goes that they at least use the energy from a black hole to blast themselves into our worlds.
Wow.
Which would also, quote, therefore allow them to travel invisibly.
Wow.
So in 2020, Sky News also said that there were researchers at the University of Glasgow, right?
Glasgow.
Okay. I am sorry to all of the people anywhere near that place, or who just know how to say it. So there are researchers at the University of Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Think of it like Glasgow.
Oh, okay, cool. That does help. They proved that black holes could be used to generate energy if you were close enough to them. So that also kind of not confirms, but it goes along with the previous research that basically Xenon could harness black hole energy if needed.
Starbucks drive-through, yeah.
And so progress in the last 2 years with the Backdoors Theory is that so in April of 2019, so 2 years ago, astronomers took the first ever picture of a black hole. And it was from galaxy M87. And apparently Professor Falk told BBC News that the picture that he was looking at was actually larger than the size of our entire solar system. So imagine looking at a picture and being like, oh, wow, that looks kind of big. And it's like, it's bigger than our entire fucking solar system.
That looks kind of big.
But anyway, so just further, we're getting closer because now we can take pictures of actual black holes,
That's
which could help us in the theory of like the Backdoors theory of, are there multiverses on the other side of a black hole singularity, which may or may not be a wormhole. So in October of last year, astronomers also saw a star spaghettificate, and they saw it from 215 million light years away. That's some good eyesight.
Wow.
There's also apparently a reenactment on YouTube, which I have not seen, but I imagine it's like they had an artist draw it out what they saw.
Wow.
So that's out there if you want to look up October 2020 star spaghettification.
When
I'm
they
not
saw
too
it
sure.
spaghettify or whatever, did
Mhm.
they see it reassemble, or was that not part of what they witnessed?
I don't think they would have been able to, because that would mean that they could see on the other side of it.
Sure.
So
Okay.
they only saw it go in, and I guess they never saw it come out. So
Oh.
if Stephen Hawking, this is the last note that I have, but I just wanted to make it a point. If Stephen Hawking had lived one more year, he would have been able to see the thing he had been studying.
Oh, ow. Well, maybe
I
on the
know.
other side, he's on the other side of the wormhole. I don't know. On the other side, he's
The celestial realm. I don't know.
The celestial realm, yes.
But anyway, that wasn't a point. That was I forget what website I got that note from. I would have never thought of it on my own, but I saw that point and I was like, whoa, like Stephen Hawking was so close to being able to see that. And he'd been studying this shit since the 70s. So
wow.
So anyway, that's the Backdoors theory.
Listen, I'm all about it. If you had just said people want you to cover that and you did, I'd been like, great, me too. I'm on board.
I'm glad you liked it. Do you know what I mean? Like it had so many almost like relevancies that I was like, I guess people want me to cover this. And then I didn't even realize until I literally said done, and I saved the document, and then I was about to go to bed, and I was like, people did want this, right? Like, and so I looked up like on Twitter DMs, and I went back in my history, and everyone said back rooms theory, and I went, motherfucker.
Oh, I thought you said backwoods theory. Now I'm confused. Back rooms
theory.
That is confusing. Backdoor, back room. They do sound pretty similar.
So, or maybe I did say backwoods earlier and I fucked it up. It is.
Can you imagine if you had said backwoods and then everyone was like, "That's not what we said."
Okay, if I said it earlier, I'm sorry. Back rooms theory is what I'll be covering next week, because
currently tweeting now saying, "Oh, I just got to the part where you corrected yourself."
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone.
I just misheard you. That could have just been me.
Anyway, next week I will cover the thing people actually wanted.
I loved it. I'm glad you did this just for me. Thank you. I'm not going to Google backrooms theory because now I'm just going to be so excited to hear what the difference is, because I'm sure they're completely different. They
are completely different. And I knew that I had done the wrong thing when I was like, backrooms theory, what is that? And so I Googled it really quick, and there were 0 links, by the way, about backdoors theory. It was so hard to research. And then backrooms theory, all of a sudden it was like TikTok sensation. And I was like, okay. So
TikTok sensation.
Apparently it was like, it's like a thing on TikTok. So.
You're like my dad when he bought me an iRiver instead of an iPod. You're like, oh, I know what you want. Let me just do that. I know what the youths want.
Whoa, that almost all came out of my nose.
Oh, sorry.
I don't want to be Bernie Schieffer, and yet the world is against me on that.
Yeah, the world is proving otherwise. Holy crap. Wow, well, that was very good. I loved it, no matter what anybody else thinks. I'm sure people will love it.
Thank you.
We could always talk about, Em and I would always talk about, we'd talk about this all day. Alternate universes.
It is fun. It's just a shame we never get any answers by the end. We just get more frustrated.
I guess, but that's the same with paranormal, right? You never really get the answer, which is a part of the fun, I guess.
That's true.
So I recently visited Renee and she was like, look what I have, and opened her cupboard and there was athletic greens in there. And I was like, I'm converting the masses. And I was very pleased. And she really loves it. She rides her she like spins and stuff and does all fancy sporty stuff and takes athletic greens in the morning, just like me and you and Blaze and RJ.
Did you then drag her to your house and then open up your cabinets and then show her the
brag.
exact same product?
Yes, I did.
One tasty scoop of athletic greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens, superfood blend, and more that all works together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, increase energy and focus, aid with digestion, and supports a healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products.
And right now, Athletic Greens is doubling down on supporting your immune system. They're offering our audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. If you visit our link today, you'll basically never have to buy vitamin D again.
Simply visit athleticgreens.com/drink and join health experts, athletes, and health-conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every day. Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/drink and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 travel packs today. Perfect.
So as you guys might know, I actually purchased a Helix mattress before they were ever even a sponsor. So I am a huge fan. And this week, our bed frame broke, and so I had to drag the mattress onto the floor. So Blaze and I have just been sleeping on our Helix mattress, and honestly, it's really comfortable. I don't think like I even notice when I'm sleeping that I'm not in an actual bed. I'm just on the mattress. So that should tell you something. Helix Sleep is amazing. They have a quiz. It just takes 2 minutes to complete. It matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress that's just for you or your partner, whoever's sleeping on this mattress. And everybody's unique, so get you a mattress that works for you.
Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/drink.
That's helixsleep.com/drink for up to $200 off and 2 free pillows. Come sleep on the floor with me, or don't. You can put it on a bed if you want. Well, I have a story for you today that also no one asked for, but I don't care because it's fascinating.
Yay!
I'm going to read you. I mean, I'm sure people asked back in the day when this was more relevant, but I'm going to read you some song lyrics. I'm not going to sing them. And I want you to guess by the end if you know what story this is.
Is this the story of Fall Out Boy?
This the true crime story.
Okay, I will play along. I just be prepared. I'm not going to know the answer because I never do.
You might. Well, okay, we'll try.
Okay.
I can give them a home safe and warm, but the law wants to ban me. Can you tell me who's wrong? Every time they move, every time they breathe, I can feel their power. I can feel their beast. Time is a tickin', we'll soon be gone. So you better take a picture. What a sad, sad song. All that Armageddon, such a painful loss when they kill all the tigers in the Holocaust. Because I saw Tiger, now I understand. I saw Tiger and the tiger saw a man. Well, I saw Tiger, now I understand. I saw Tiger and the tiger saw a man.
I mean, I'm gonna guess this is Tiger King.
Joe Exotic. Yay!
Okay. The only reason is because you said Tiger 1,000 fucking
85 times. Then I kept glancing at you.
If you were looking at me before, my face was just like this. I was like, what are you talking about? But okay, that's awesome. Well, you're like a whole pandemic too late for relevancy, but you know what? This is actually I'm going to say a wonderful full circle because the pandemic is finally ending. We should bookend it with the Tiger King since that's how we all began.
Actually, weirdly relevant because I hadn't even thought of this, but at the start, like back in when this movie got huge on Netflix, I guess it must have been last April or May, maybe April. Alexander and I did an episode of Beach Too Sandy where we covered reviews of Joe Exotic Zoo and Carole Baskin Zoo, or like, you know, whatever they're called.
This is the sanctuary or whatever.
The sanctuary,
yeah. That is an eerie start. Start the pandemic with one podcast and end it on the other.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that really at all. And interestingly enough, I had known about Joe Exotic for a long time because when we were in Florida the year before, when the right after the bomb cyclone incident during Florida for you, I had looked up covering the story, and it was like I was just so overwhelmed by the entire thing that I was like, I'm not going to be able to cover this in a live show. And then I completely forgot about it. And then when the Netflix documentary came out a year later, I was like, why does this sound so familiar, but like so crazy? And so I guess every year somehow this story becomes relevant in my life.
Well,
for me,
I'm interested to see how it formulates next year. But
Yeah, me too.
so I'm glad you're covering it because I remember I don't to be fair, I don't remember Tiger King at fucking all anymore because so much time has passed. And also I only got through like the first
Yeah,
four, like
you
the
were like
first
not
half.
into it. I remember being horrified that you were like, I don't get it.
I didn't get it. I was like, I think I don't remember what I mean, it was literally so long ago at this point. I don't remember what I didn't like about it, but I like
You
fell
told
asleep during
me,
2 of the
yeah, you told
episodes.
me it was boring, and I was like, how on earth is it boring?
I think at some point I missed like a critical piece of information that bridged things because I remember at one point getting really confused. So I'm really happy that this is
Okay, well,
thank you
there's
for
nothing really
explaining it.
that makes any sense. So I can't promise any of this will be clear or sensical, but I will tell you the story, and
Okay.
maybe you'll find it slightly interesting. We'll see. But anyway, those were, of course, the infamous lyrics of singer-songwriter of Tiger King fame, self-described as a gay, gun-toting cowboy with a mullet. We are diving into the man, the conspirator, the prisoner, and the jungle cat slash also wannabe president himself, Joe Exotic.
The enigma
The
himself.
enigma indeed.
Hmm.
So there are 8 episodes of Tiger King. It's a great docu-series, fascinating stuff. And so there, if you want the whole story, check that out. I'm not gonna be able to cover all of it. There's also a reference, a Texas Monthly article by Leif Reichstad that covered a lot of this in written form, which is also helpful.
Hmm.
So let's crack into it. We start in Kansas of 1963. Joe Exotic was born Joseph Allen Schreibvogel. You know, German.
How is it? How does it go?
Schreibvogel,
Schreibfuge?
which means a writing bird, is the direct translation.
Oh,
But
okay.
it really has no bearing on any of this except that it's a fun German word.
It is.
And
I look, any opportunity to get you to say something in German, I'm gonna.
Schreibvogel.
It's so fun. I just music on the ears, you know.
I
On
will say I'm definitely rusty, so I apologize if I'm messing it up. But so his parents, Francis and Shirley, had come from wealthy farming families, but they didn't really show him and his brothers or his siblings, I guess, much affection. So growing up, he didn't really have a lot of, healthy love with his family and siblings, aside from one older brother named Gerald, which is really the greatest name I've ever heard.
so spelled like Gerald, and yet
Actually spelled like Harold with a G.
wow, we're really going all over the alphabet today.
We
Okay.
are. It's also, I'm pretty sure, an old Germanic name, so
Ah.
Gerald probably or something, but Gerald is just the greatest. So
Hmm.
Gerald Schreib, I guess you'd say Schreibvogel. Gerald
Schreibvogel.
Schreibvogel, which is quite a name in my opinion. So he and Gerald, I hope I'm saying it. Maybe it is Gerald. I'm just pronouncing it wrong.
Maybe in America it's Gerald, but like when he was originally named Gerald and then it got
It
Americanized or
could be.
something.
It could be. Thank you for backing me up on that. And now that I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, what if I'm completely saying that wrong?
I mean,
Um,
realistically, if I like had to look at a roster and see his name, I'd be like, "Oh, is Harold here?" Like, so who?
yes. Okay. So it does say I mean, listen, babynamespedia.com says it's pronounced Gerald. So I'm just going to go with that.
All
My
right.
ultimate source, Babypedia or whatever I just said. Okay. So
Look up Tiger King next. What is that? How far down the list is that
where
one?
does the surname Exotic come from? Uh, so let's see. He and Gerald got along because they both shared a love of animals, and to the point that Joe actually would regularly participate in the Future Farmers of America projects, where he'd often bring home all sorts of creatures, including raccoons and ferrets, just for fun. At a young age, it was his dream to live in Africa and see the great beasts there, which I love that. I love when people just say Africa. Like, I just
I
want
know.
to live in the entire massive continent somewhere in Africa.
Just anywhere, any old
Just
fucking spot.
drop
Drop me
me in.
off.
So that was his dream, I guess. And when he was 11, the family moved to Wyoming and then ended up later in Texas, where he graduated from high school in 1982. So at age 19, this is like a little known fact that I didn't realize when I watched the docuseries, is that he became a police officer in nearby Eastvale, which had a population of 503. And he was soon promoted to chief of police at the age of 19.
Hmm.
So by age 19, Joe Exotic was literally the chief of police of a town.
Checks
Uh,
out.
it checks out. It was a small department. Only a few officers worked under him. They didn't have many serious crimes, but it is still a wild fact, fun fact. Newsweek even has an article called "Joe Exotic was chief of police as a teenager because of course he was." So everyone else kind of shares the same sentiment of what the fuck, but nothing surprises us anymore.
Yeah.
So at the time he was living with his girlfriend, but soon he ended that relationship to explore the gay nightclub scene. And that is where he met his soon-to-be husband, Brian Rhine, at a gay cowboy bar in Dallas.
Okay.
Fun times. So Joe wasn't comfortable telling his parents about his sexuality. So when one of his siblings outed him to his father, his dad did not respond well at all. Mr. Schreibvogel did not appreciate this news. And it was pretty traumatic, according to Joe. And some people believe that at this point he attempted suicide by crashing his police cruiser over a bridge, which obviously did not kill him, but left him with a broken back. But over time, he has told the Dallas Morning News that someone forced the car off a bridge during a police drug investigation and that it was not a suicide attempt. So nobody's totally sure, but he claims it was part of a drug chase or drug investigation.
Got it.
So either way, he survived, but he was severely injured, and he decided to move to West Palm Beach, Florida, to begin a few months of physical therapy. He continued his relationship with Brian, and eventually he got a job working at a pet store. This is where it all begins. So lucky for Joe, his neighbor, I mean, this is Florida. I guess this isn't as weird as it sounds, but his neighbor also worked at an exotic animal park. So he just let Joe bottle feed the baby lions and monkeys that he'd bring home from the exotic animal farm.
Which is dope, by the way. That's amazing. Like if my whole thing was like, oh, my neighbor lets me like feed little baby animals, that's so cool.
Well,
no?
No, we don't really like exotic animals being, caged and bred in zoos, but...
Oh, I wasn't thinking... I thought it was like he had like a house and was just like fostering like a little baby kangaroo or something.
No, exotic animal park, a lot of this, I mean, I guess trigger warning, some of it gets a little wild, but it's not like super gruesome or anything, but, there's nothing good coming out of keeping all these giant animals in Florida on farms. Like, it's just folks, don't do it. Exotic pets are not a thing you should be having. I'm just going to say it. Unless you have some sort of like true understanding of how to care for them and they can't be on their own and whatever, yada yada.
Unless you're Bindi Irwin.
Unless you're Bindi, maybe she can do it, right? And I bet she doesn't even keep a bunch of things in small cages in her house. Just saying. Oh, I love Bindi. Anyway. So he's like suddenly fascinated. This neighbor's literally just bringing home like animals from the animal park and like lions and monkeys and just like letting them loose in his house. And so Joe would bottle feed them. And in 1986, he and Brian married at the bar where they'd met in an unofficial ceremony. And he also bought a pet store with Brian and Gerald. So the three of them bought a pet store in Arlington, Texas. They were back in Texas by this point. And alongside selling reptiles, birds, and small fish, Joe and Gerald began thinking of how to save money, which they do. Now, this is a wild way to save money or make money. They would dumpster dive for materials and then turn them into cat playgrounds and then sell them. So,
doesn't sound like the wildest thing I've ever heard. It is pretty wild,
it's
but
DIY in a really weird way.
You're just upcycling with free materials.
Upcycling with trash, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they would sell these cat playgrounds, which I feel like if someone was like, look, I made this cool cat playground for you, and it was made of like
Tupperware boxes or something.
Dumpster trash, I'd be like, I can tell that's not,
like
whatever.
At least throw some paint on there so nobody knows what's going on. Damn.
Maybe they did because they made money. So I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were better crafters than I am, but they sold them, saved some money, and using this money, they started buying bigger cages for other exotic pets like three-banded armadillos, four-eyed possums, snakes, etc. But unfortunately, the pet shop would become the target of thievery. So in 1993, it became the target of snake snatching, which Joe thought was born out of homophobia. In total, 7 snakes were stolen, including a red-tailed boa constrictor called Scooby and 6 pythons.
Oh
boy. So to remedy this, or to at least try and protect his store from future burglaries, he began sleeping in the store with loaded guns in case anyone tried to break in again.
Oh, okay.
So, just in case. JIC. So can you imagine if you're walking around like, I don't know, some small town, it's like midnight, you're glancing into shop windows and you look in and there's like this exotic animal shop, all these boa constrictors, and there's a man just lying with like an AR.
As someone who's lived in Fredericksburg, yeah, I can for sure see that. Not to say that Fredericksburg like has that and people need to like go rescue animals, but if you told me like, hey, there's a shady pet shop. Actually, there is a shady pet shop in Fredericksburg. I've never even gone near it. I don't think I think it's abandoned now. But if you told me someone was in there like with their pet boa constrictors and a gun, I'd be like, that sounds pretty Virginia.
Yeah, it sounds like Virginia, Florida, Kentucky, where I live now. It's all pretty on brand. So I guess now that you're saying that, I'm kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't me.
I wouldn't be okay with it. I would be unnerved, but
I would take a photo for sure for posterity's sake.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Maybe not with flash. That might end poorly, but
no,
just be careful.
You gotta and make sure the volume is off so they don't hear the ching,
like shutter sound. Yeah, we don't need to start anything. So he started sleeping on the floor with a gun or with multiple guns. And unfortunately, in October of 97, tragedy struck when Gerald died in a car accident, suddenly and tragically. Ooh. So, yikes. According to Business Insider, Gerald's widow and children were looking to build a soccer field in honor of him, but Joe convinced them he had a better idea. So, instead of creating or building a soccer field in his brother's memory, he got a tattoo of him on his arm that you can see in most of videos or photos of him. And he bought a 16-acre old horse ranch in Wynwood, Oklahoma, with the help of a lawsuit his family had won in relation to Gerald's death. So he had been left with $140,000, convinced the family not to build a soccer field, but to instead buy this 16-acre ranch. And in 1999, the Gerald Wayne Exotic Animal Memorial Park, better known as the GW Zoo, opened with the first two inhabitants, which were Gerald's pets, a deer and a buffalo. So this is the start of the zoo.
It's the start of something. Like, had I known it was like no like the animals were in good care, if I knew that information, I would immediately be intrigued of like, we're starting hot with some variety in this place. Like,
it is quite a variety. It's a weird start. A deer and and a buffalo. It's like,
it's like, what's next? I could literally not begin to guess.
No clue. Right. So soon to follow, I'll tell you what came next. A mountain lion, a bear, and then in 2000, Joe got a call from a game warden telling him that someone had abandoned 2 tigers in a backyard. So he went to pick them up, named them Tess and Tickles, and brought them back to his zoo. So that's where the tiger thing began.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So in 2001, 2 years later, GW Zoo was now home to 89 big cats and 1,000 other exotic animals. Business Insider gives some good context in that Mike Tyson once owned 3 tigers, as many of us know, which cost him $4,000 a month for food to feed them. So essentially, if you're thinking 3 tigers cost $4,000 a month just in food alone, this place now has 89 big cats and 1,000 other exotic animals. So the expenses must be through the roof.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but it must be wild. So
I mean, not like 90 big cats times 4,000 a month is like 360,000, not including the other 1,000 animals. So it's, I would say, probably like a nice chunk of $1 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
a month.
That's also just food. That's not even like housing and medical care and whatever else you have going on there. Insurance, I assume, but you never know with all these people.
So let's say like 2 million a month.
I'm not going to say either way because I have no clue and I don't want to get in any sort of hot water, but it sounds like it's a lot of money. So whatever it was, he needed a way to make his money back. And so he would start charging $25 to hold a cub for a few minutes and another $25 for a photo of the interaction. And this was on top of general admission, which was $15 a person or $10 for any child under 12. So that's kind of how he was making his money back at this point. But unfortunately, around this time, Brian also passed away, this time from HIV complications. And in the Tiger King docuseries, you don't really hear much about him, but apparently Joe was like devastated by Brian's death. He apparently passed away in Joe's truck as he was trying to drive him home. So, like, just really
Ugh.
tragic and traumatizing. And so after Brian's death, Joe started a new business venture slash scheme to try and bring more revenue in for the GW Zoo. And that would be a traveling show.
Hmm.
So here we go on this, like, now it's like basically a traveling circus he's got going here. So under the name Joe Exotic, Joe began performing magic shows with the Cubs. And according to a New York Magazine profile, this kind of show would bring in a lot of money once it brought in, like, for one event, it brought in about 24 grand. So
Wow.
he was making like big chunks of change, bringing these animals around to like malls and shopping centers and doing like shows with the tigers. So there's a Wondery podcast called Joe Exotic Tiger King. And one of Joe's old assistants, Aaron Stone, revealed on that podcast one bizarre incident that happened on one of the tours, which I'm just going to quote him and say, at one show, the centerpiece illusion involved a loud explosion and pyrotechnic display clearing to reveal a tiger in a cage which had appeared on stage. Unfortunately for the tiger and Joe, the loud noise made the tiger really stressed and it would cower in the back of the cage every time. So when Joe noticed this, he conjured a plan and he got some orange and black spray from a fancy dress shop and he painted a sheep orange and then
Okay.
added black stripes to it. However, the sheep obviously was also freaked out by the noise. So Aaron, this assistant, had to hide in the cage with the sheep slash tiger, but really a sheep, to keep it calm. And when the pyrotechnics went off, Aaron was revealed cuddling this sheep on stage. And
Ah.
when audience members asked Joe later what creature that was, he told them it was a tiger. So
Ah.
it was literally a sheep painted orange and black, but he told everyone it was a tiger.
Okay. Okay.
So this business venture became hard to maintain because, according to the Animal Welfare Guide, cubs are only safe to handle between 4 weeks and 12 weeks old. So, in order to continue his stream of income, he needed a steady stream of tiger cubs.
Aha.
So, you guessed it, he started breeding them because he needed to get them from somewhere. The easiest way is make them yourself, I suppose. So, that is what he
Yikes.
started doing. Yikes, indeed. So, while his business was going steady at this point, his romantic life was kind of coming back together. And in 2002, after Brian's death, Joe, who at this point was 39, married 24-year-old JC Hart Pence. And they had met because JC was an events producer and was helping out with the magic shows. And even though they kind of took off with a bang, the two of them, their relationship turned toxic pretty quickly.
Ooh.
Let me give you an example. In mid 2003, Hartpence or Jay Z, no, Jay Z, oh my God,
Oh
JC,
my God.
yikes. Then Jay Z showed up. Okay. Then
And then so did my
JC,
lawsuit. Yeah.
yeah, yikes. Now I'm sued. Okay. So JC walked into the zoo's office and he found a piece of paper on his desk. It was a printed color photograph of the zoo's largest tiger, Goliath, eating a slab of meat. And in white letters over the picture was typed JC's remains. And
Oh.
attached was a post it note that said, if you don't get your shit together, this is going to be your reality. So
Oh.
now he's being threatened with his life. And later that year, things got so bad that JC ended up pointing a loaded gun at Joe and saying he wanted out. So that's how they split.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
healthy breakup. So in the docuseries, JC was not featured much either. However, later he was found guilty of aggravated indecent liberty with a child under the age of 14. He was
Hmm.
entered into the sex offender registry and is currently serving life in prison for a murder unrelated to Joe. So that's where we left
Wow.
off with JC, not Jay Z, JC, to be
Uh-huh.
clear.
Yep.
Please, lawyers,
Yep.
help. And shortly after breaking down of marriage number 2, Joe struck up a relationship with 19-year-old John Finley, who
Hmm.
also worked at the zoo and, of course, became a fan favorite in the Tiger King docuseries. So, as Joe's zoo grew and his traveling show booked event after event, he started getting more and more attention. And with that came more and more criticism from animal rights groups and federal regulators who were like, hey, this man's touring around with a bunch of tigers that he's breeding himself and like
Ugh.
putting off fireworks and letting like
Yeah.
children
It's like
teach
beyond
children
not
hold
cute.
them. It's disgusting. So he started getting a lot more attention and criticism. And then in July of 2004, the Oklahoman published an article about a disabled lion cub named Angel that had been born at the zoo and had disabilities because of inbreeding, because he was breeding these cats to the point that they were, being inbred and causing problems that way genetically. And so one activist piped up saying no legitimate animal sanctuary would allow that to happen. And guess who that activist was? None other than the one and only
Baskin?
Carole Baskin. Wow, 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 enters the scene. Now, Carole Baskin became a hit character.
Sure did.
Did.
I at least know who Carole Baskin is a year later, especially that fucking song that
my God.
Whew.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're going to talk more about Carole Baskin, our basically secondary main character here. So Carole Baskin, about 1,200 miles away in Tampa, was hyper aware of Joe Exotic and his work. In 1991, at the age of 20, she had married wealthy real estate investor Don Lewis, who was 22 years her senior. And in 1992, Carole and Don attended an animal auction where she made her first purchase. So there was a bobcat named Windsong who went up for auction, and she overheard a bidder saying that he was, quote, going to club the cat over the head and stuff it. So Carole hears this and is like, well, now we have to get this cat. Like, we can't just leave this bobcat to be, stuffed and killed by this fucking asshole. So they had no
murdered.
option. Murdered. Right. So they had no option but to buy Windsong themselves. And when they brought Windsong home, they realized she needed a playmate. So they found a man in Minnesota who agreed to sell them a second bobcat. And when they rolled up at this man's place, they were confronted by a metal shed full of bobcats that were being bred and then slaughtered for their fur. Don't want fur.
Whoa.
Again, Carole and Don were like, shit, we can't just leave them here. And so they were left option but to buy all of them. And by all of them, I mean all 56 of them.
Jeez Louise.
They went to pick up one bobcat and left with 56.
No big deal. Look, and then that poor fucking Windsong was like, I just wanted one friend.
I just wanted a playmate.
You just gave me an entire high school worth of friends. I don't want this. They're already forming cliques. They already know each other. Now I'm the new kid. I hate this.
Oh my God. This is my home first. Yeah. So now they suddenly had 57 bobcats, I guess, including Windsong. And this was the beginning of their housing exotic cats, which resulted in the acquiring of 40 acres of land where they built their now famous or infamous Big Cat Rescue. So as news of Carole's sanctuary spread, she became overwhelmed with calls from people asking about different zoos and sanctuaries and which ones were, okay, or they would call and say hey, this place,
which one's legitimate and...
yeah, or hey, just a heads up, this place is clearly not, it's mistreating its animals, yada yada. Right. So she's getting millions of calls, and so she decides to create a website to compile all this information in one place, and she calls it 911animalabuse.com. She also at this point begins uploading content onto YouTube, which she usually begins with her catchphrase, "Hey all you cool cats and kittens." And this is where one of her many fun quirks comes into play, is born.
I'm surprised you didn't start this episode with that.
I know. Well, it was either the song lyrics or, as a guessing game, or just throw you right into the Carole Baskin mix, which, and I will say, I think one fun is not a great word. Future story could be Carole Baskin and that whole
we're not covering that today.
We do not have room for that today, but we talk about it, but I don't cover the entire story. There's a lot behind it. We'll get to it, but yeah. So if I ever do that, then maybe we'll start with, "Hey, all you cool cats and kittens."
That'd be great.
Yes, that's a great idea. I have to remember that. So as heroic as Carole may seem, people have questioned how her business venture is so completely dissimilar from people like Joe's. Some have even speculated that Joe's animal cages were bigger and cleaner, but there's just debate back and forth. Well, Carole, if you're saying, he shouldn't be treating animals this way, why are you going to Minnesota and buying animals to be friends with your other animal? People get into debates about this. I mean, I don't know specifically, but that's just pointing it out, both sides of the story. So there is also a darker side to this woman's story that we kind of just hinted at, which is that on August 21st, 1997, her husband, Don Lewis, disappeared.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Don disappeared, and Carole reported him missing. She hadn't heard from him in 3 days, and he had told her he was a pilot, and he had told her he was flying out to Costa Rica on the 18th. They found Don's van in Pilot County's airport parking lot, but he was nowhere to be found. So in 2002, which was 5 years later, she had him legally declared dead. And that's notable because, well, people use this to argue against her being involved with the death, but essentially, like, the moment it was legal to declare him dead, she had him declared dead, despite no proof that he had died, if that makes sense.
Like there was no sign of like any hope being held out or anything. It was like, it was almost like she was waiting for the exact moment that she could call and declare it.
Yes, okay. Exactly. So it was like, even though there was no sign he had died, she had him declared dead, which is legal. So it's not like, oh, you can use that
right
really as evidence, but people use that to kind of prove their point.
Mm-hmm.
So she was never really a suspect, like an official suspect in his disappearance, but she was accused responsible for his murder by the media and notably by Don's children and ex-wife, who thought she had something to do with it.
Okay.
Because 2 months before he disappeared, he actually had filed a restraining order against Carole. And he had claimed that Carole had threatened to kill him and had taken his gun away so he couldn't protect himself. And yeah, so there's like all the shadiness that occurred before he vanished that his family was like, hold on, like we have information here. So Don's ex-wife Gladys and his children all claim he had told them he was planning on leaving Carole and believed she was dangerous. And a year later, in 2003, after she had declared him dead, Carole married chairman of her advisory board, Howard Baskin, and they are still together to this day. You can see them wearing cute cat face paint together in their videos. They are quite a pair, quite a duo.
Couple of kittens.
Couple of cool cats and kittens, if you do say so yourself. So back to 2004, Carole Baskin is like public enemy number 1 to exotic animal owners and private zoo operators all over America through her 911animalabuse.com website. She's tracking violations of animal rights across the country, and the backlash she receives is immense. She is hated so much that once she opens her mailbox to find it full of snakes. Yeah.
Wow. A nightmare.
Yikes.
I could be doing the thing I love more than anything in the world. And if I found out that I got a mailbox full of snakes, I'd be like, I'm never doing that thing again.
Full of snakes.
If
really
someone said,
ultimate.
like, if all of a sudden I got snakes with a note that said never nap or eat steak again, I'd be like, I guess I'm a changed person now. Like,
yes, I'm never sleeping again.
Yeah.
I mean, if I got a thing of snakes with no note, I'd probably never sleep again anyway. So I guess we'd both be in the same boat.
Right, just really awake and nervous for the rest of our lives.
Oh my god, yeah. So she finds this is basically just to indicate how people are, how much they hate her and how much they're outright threatening her. So she'd often find online news articles about Joe's magic shows, and at this point he is fully aware of how much she does not like him and is calling him out, and he fucking detests her.
Mm-hmm.
So he is aggravated as hell. She would often go online, find articles about his magic shows, and leave angry comments about how he breeds his cubs and how like unethical and inhumane it was. And it even got to the point where she would get her followers to like bombard the places that were booking him with emails and calls questioning like they would call, for example, the mall he had a show at the next day and be like, oh, so you're endorsing animal abuse and all this stuff. And so she was basically getting his shows canceled and like losing him business.
Got it.
By calling the people who were hiring him or having her followers call.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly Carole started getting calls and emails of people asking, wait a second, if you're so against Joe Exotic, then why are you sponsoring his new road show? And she's like, sorry, what? Well, it turns out that Joe had begun using Carole Baskin's Big Cat Rescue name and logo to advertise his shows.
Oh my god.
So he's just fully...
Did he do that just to piss her off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So she's like, what do you mean I'm endorsing it? And they were like, your fucking name and logo are all over his like traveling circus. And she was
Wow.
like, no, it's not. And turns out it was. So in January of 2011, Carole rightfully, if I do say so, sued him in federal court for trademark infringement. I mean, that's about as
Sure, that's
blatant
as
as you can
blatant.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, okay. That's like if ZB like started saying he goes, no, that would never happen.
If he started ghost hunting under our name and that's why we drink, that's called a dream. First
That's
of all,
called, wow, we finally made it. You're right. You're
that's
right.
called you do whatever you want, Zach Bagans. That's fine.
You know
I'm
what?
cool
I'm
with
gonna leave
it.
him out of this equation because I feel like anybody could turn this around on me and be like, well, what about what you do? So I'm gonna leave it. Leave it be.
Okay.
My
Okay.
bad. Sorry, Zach. Stepping back. Don't sue me. Okay.
Finally, we found a limit.
As I lift my blanket with his face up to my chin. So,
By the way, like this all stemmed out of just you should have just tweeted someone back. That's all this was.
you know what, ZB, if you had just done the simple thing and tweeted me back, we wouldn't be in this mess today. Do you hear that?
Oh
Just
my
thought
god.
you should know. Em said it first. Okay. Right. So she sues him for trademark infringement. And as court proceedings follow, Joe began his own internet warfare. He built his own TV studio at his zoo to broadcast Joe Exotic TV on his website. These clips are on YouTube. They are as batshit as they sound. And alongside releasing marketing material for the GW Zoo, he essentially just used Joe Exotic TV to create anti Carole Baskin's hate campaigns. Right. So this ranged from slandering her, like he coined the famous phrase, that bitch Carole Baskin, which has become now like a meme and is all over merchandise on Etsy. Not that I've looked, but I totally have. And he created videos
for research.
It's just for research, okay? To anybody checking our bank account where I may or may not have. No, I didn't order. Okay. Only on my card, I promise. I did actually, when we did that episode on Beach Tea Sandy, I did order my brother a Cool Cats and Kittens. Oh no, it was a wine or a beer mug that said, I like to drink wine and rescue bobcats. So
perfect.
I bought him that mug. It's pretty cool.
You also cut his hair to look like Joe Exotic too. So
that's right. Yeah, we had
you've done a lot of damage in terms of Tiger King action.
I've gotten too close to this story for some God knows what reason, but for some reason, yikes. Good point. I forgot about that. So anyway, he has this TV studio. He's like directing these anti-Carole Baskin campaigns, everything from that bitch Carole Baskin to creating videos of him firing guns at random things like mattresses and toying with explosives, warning her and other animal rights activists to not fuck with him, essentially like threatening, shooting things and being like, don't mess with me, yada, yada. In one instance, for example, in 2012, he said the following. For Carole and all of her friends that are watching out there, if you think for 1 minute I was nuts before, I am the most dangerous exotic animal owner on this planet right now. And before you bring me down, it is my belief that you will stop breathing. Got that?
Oh.
So he's not being subtle. Let's just put it that way. In February of 2014, Joe dressed up a blow-up doll with a blonde wig and started talking to it saying, you want to know why Carole Baskin better never, ever, ever see me face to face ever, ever, ever again? And then he shot the pistol at the doll's head and continued, that is how sick and tired of this shit I am. So
there's nothing to say about that. Just like, okay, my guy, it's a little too much.
I think it's a little much. And, picture him with
not
his
a cute
mullet.
look.
No, it's not a cute look. I mean, his mullet is a little bit. No, not even that.
Oh, I can't stop. I think I every time I watched, I couldn't think about anything except his little eyebrow ring and how it was only dangling by a thread. I just wanted to rip it off.
No.
It wouldn't have even hurt him. It was like a centimeter into his face. It was like it barely there. So anyway, I remember.
If you don't know what this fella looks like, folks, Google him. It is Google Joe Exotic and
out of sight.
Out of sight.
Out of sight.
You don't know what you're missing.
His eyebrow thing specifically, I remember just watching it being like, if that thing got torn out of his eyebrow, he wouldn't even feel it. It's like literally like it's seconds away from falling off on its own anyway. So
well, that is probably why you were distracted.
I really couldn't listen to him whenever it was a close-up of his face and I could see it just like holding on for dear life.
It's pretty horrific stuff. Yikes, I forgot about that eyebrow piercing. So basically he's shooting blow-up dolls, pretending they're Carole and saying like outright threatening her. And around this time, Joe had hired a new employee that, if you watch the show, you will recognize, named Travis Maldonado, age 19, who had come from California and was struggling with an addiction to meth. And similar to what happened with John Finley, Joe took an immediate liking to Travis. And a couple months later, in what was probably one of the more memorable parts of this docuseries, they all got married to one another. So,
oh, I totally forgot about that.
yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
They had a 3-person wedding. And I don't mean 3-person including the officiant. I mean a 3-person.
In that case, you, me, and Blaze got married back in 2018.
Right. We had a 3-person wedding. That's right. Let's consider this a 4-person wedding, I guess. So he and John Finley all got married, sort of. I don't know how this really works legally, but the ceremony was zoo themed. They had an orange and black striped cake. The flower girls were dressed up as monkeys. And the ring, and by the way, the 3 of them getting married were wearing these like hot pink button downs. It is a wild look. Yeah. If you like look up a photo, it is bonkers.
You know, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like if I was invited to the wedding, I wouldn't go. Like I would have gone to that wedding. And
for research.
for pure entertainment, actually.
And also a piece of cake.
It's got to be the weird. Actually, I would not eat the cake. I feel like it was like made of animals or something.
Yeah, I don't want to know what's in the cake.
So, I mean, you said you don't know, so it's stupid of me to ask when you literally said you don't know. But do you know if the wedding like had to be done in Utah or something, or like where there's like polygamy is?
No, they did it right there. I think.
Or were they all like civil unions?
You know, they did cover this in the show, and I did not write it down, and it's been a long time since I actually watched the show. But they did have a full-on ceremony, so you're right. It might have been like a technicality, maybe a civil union between 2 of them, and I'm not totally sure, but I think they do cover it in the show. But they did it right there at the zoo.
Party of a lifetime.
I do regret not being invited to that. I was probably I don't know how old I was.
You probably would not have understood the gravity in many ways of what you were seeing.
Yeah. And what I was apparently in the background of, dressed as a monkey. Yeah, I think maybe I wouldn't know what I was getting myself into. So it's probably for the best. But so they had this wedding. They had an orange and black striped cake. The flower girls were dressed up as monkeys, and the ring bearer was dressed up as a crested black macaque, which is a very I googled this. I watched some YouTube videos. They're very, very smart primates. Fascinating stuff. Just, if you're interested in that kind of thing. So, he had a vision and he carried it out, certainly, to 110%.
Sure did. Mm-hmm. You know what? He had the wedding of his dreams, and everyone deserves that. So,
this is the 3rd wedding, or maybe the 4th, depending on if you count both of these as 2. Yeah, he might get. You know what? It's about time he gets that wedding of his dreams.
If I were getting married and I said, Christine, I want you to dress up like a monkey, you better say ooh ah ah, like you're
Christine,
in.
I'd like to be an owl. As you know, I've been working on my character.
Look, I wouldn't put you in anything less than an owl. I mean, a full, just on display, wings and all.
18 feet tall.
We'll all bow down to you, and maybe there's some government conspiracy surrounded around that.
Do some pagan rituals that aren't really pagan rituals, dance around. Yeah, exactly. It'll be fun, I think.
It'll be fun. You'd be the owl queen.
Yes, I would be.
Instead of the tiger king. All
yes,
right.
I didn't get it. I'm stupid. I'm like, sure, yeah.
Okay, moving on quickly.
Exactly what I'd be. Okay.
Sprinting away from this conversation.
Flying away with my big, big wings. Okay, so the wedding in 2014 was a high point in what turned out to be otherwise a very shitty year for Joe. So his relationship with John Finley soon began to fall apart. The park had dominated their lives, and Joe had also become obsessed with the traction that Joe Exotic TV was inevitably receiving, because how could this not become some sort of internet sensation? Or
truly,
right? Like, it's just meant to be a Netflix docuseries. So in what was a messy breakup on August 18, 2014, Finley attacked Joe and was arrested and charged with assault and battery. And on top of this, Joe also that year lost the copyright infringement lawsuit, not shocking, filed by Carole Baskin, and now owed her $1 million. So it was just, I mean, he should have seen that coming. I'm sorry. Like, I get that you're trying to piss her off and it worked, but like,
there are consequences to your actions, my friend.
Unfortunately, this time at least there are. So it was decided after a long settlement that Joe would pay her in monthly payments. and a contract was sent over, but he just never responded. And that is until a wealthy but fraudulent businessman named Jeff Lowe, a recent customer of the GW Zoo and a new friend of Joe's. So essentially, this guy just shown up and been like, what's going on here? This place looks
Mhm.
cool," and then become his friend and decided to partner up in business with him. So they had gone skydiving together in 2015, and I guess that's enough to bond you for a lifetime.
I think
Uh,
so. In times of conflict, people really band together and you're falling out of the sky.
it's that
So
adrenaline rush will really connect you, you know?
if I hated somebody on the ground, once we're jumping out of a plane together, I love you. Like, I'm like, you are all I had as I
You are the
plummeted to
only
the earth.
exactly. You are my one link to life.
Maybe the key to if you have like a bully, a high school bully, just go skydiving with them,
Just
and
throw them off an airplane.
yeah, it'll feel good from beginning to end.
It will
Because
be
like by the end, you'll have a friend.
cathartic experience, I would say.
Hmm.
And maybe a fraudulent business partner. You never know.
Maybe an attempted murder. I don't know. If you,
Who's to say?
I don't know.
Find out. So this guy, right? So this guy, Jeff Lowe, he agreed to put the zoo in his own name so that the property would never be given away to Carole. If Joe couldn't make the payments, the zoo wouldn't be taken from him because
Mhm.
now it's under Jeff's name.
Right.
So although this was like a huge godsend to Joe that somebody agreed to do this for him, even though they went skydiving.
I mean, I understand the shadiness of like, so you only went skydiving and had one experience together, and now you're just handing over your business to this person.
Well, so what I'm saying is, even though they went skydiving, believe it or not, their relationship quickly soured.
Oh no, damn.
I
So you
know.
know what? Everything I said about skydiving with your high school bully, shockingly, that's not a good idea.
Shockingly, this advice
Um,
might not work.
you know, with Jeff Lowe, when those episodes came out, that's when I started getting bored because I think I totally didn't understand like why
It
he
was
would just
confusing. I actually remember that too, and I remember being like, "Wait, he's," and you know, I remember specifically drinking way too much during one episode and going like, "Who's that guy again?" It's and there's I will say there's a lot of Jeffs, Joes, Johns. Like the J's do get confusing. I
Mhm.
have to put that out there. But so this Jeff skydiving fella, he puts the zoo under his name to protect Joe from Carol's lawyers essentially taking it from him. But they have big personalities and they start butting heads
And bigger cats.
and even bigger cats. This is a big story. We're in Florida. What else do you expect? And so while this is happening, Carole is like, "Hello, I'm still trying to get my $1 million settlement." And this is now when everything kind of bubbles up for Joe, and his hatred of this woman manifests in a very baffling way. So, in another
Oh,
memorable moment of Tiger King on September 18th, 2015, Joe releases a song about Carole Baskin called Here Kitty Kitty.
okay.
And here are some of the lyrics. I'll do a slam poetry type reading for you.
Please do. I'll snap to it in my head.
Yes, thank you. So if you're ever down in Tampa on a big cat refuge, don't pick a fight with your wife because it's a big 40 acres, and if you're not careful, you'll be gone in a blink of an eye. No
Hmm.
bones, no remains, but that won't change the fact that Dawn sure ain't coming back. But you can't prosecute, there's just no use. There's nothing left but tiger tracks. Oh, here, kitty, kitty, mama's got some treats for you. Oh, here, kitty, kitty, well, you can't find this taste in the zoo. Oh, here, kitty, kitty, well, Mama Carole, she sure loves you. Oh, here, kitty, kitty, mama made this for you. So that's cute.
So so okay, so this guy doesn't learn because like now he's
No,
like just publicly announcing or declaring that this person murdered her husband,
correct.
and like you already have a lawsuit that you're
You already
like
owe her $1 million.
and yeah, it's like okay, like he doesn't he's doubling down, I feel like, and
That's
he's like
exactly. He's like, I've lost. Like, I can't lose anymore. Like, what do I have to lose? Essentially, he's like, I already lost my
more
million.
money, more
More
money.
money, your entire zoo, your livelihood, your freedom, not
Yeah.
being in jail. I mean, but I guess that part didn't come through mentally. So
He sounds like he's a little short-tempered. He doesn't I don't think he thinks things
yeah,
through.
he's short-sighted in that way, for sure. Um,
Mhm.
for sure. Kind of end of
Mhm.
story. I think that's really all there is to it. So yes, we have a claim here that Carole Baskin murdered her ex-husband Don, or I guess not ex-husband. Are you ex-husband at that point? Your deceased husband? Your
Your late
late
husband?
husband, right?
Yeah. We
at
got there.
least presumed late because, again, nobody's ever found him. So
Right.
there's now a claim that Joe Exotic has made on his lovely TV channel that Carole Baskin has murdered her husband, Don. And this theory arises, obviously perpetuated by Joe, that either Carole fed Don's remains to her tigers or his remains are in Carole Baskin's septic tank. So he's just like having the time of his life spreading these rumors. And the description Joe Exotic puts under the Here Kitty Kitty video is as follows. There's one way to get a message across, and that is with music. Okay, well, I wouldn't say that's the one way, but I guess it is a way.
It's definitely on the list.
It's on the list. There's one way to get a message across, and that is with music. Everyone loves music. It is believed that in 1997, a woman in Tampa, Florida, killed her husband and fed him to the tigers in order to get all of his property and money. People magazine even did a story on it. Enjoy the video and share with your friends. In this world, if you can sleep at night and you have enough money, you can get away with just about anything. So he's really out there, trying to take her name down.
Right.
And at this point, it is also revealed that Carole had Don declared dead as soon as it was legal for her to do so, despite there being no real evidence that he had died. So that didn't help her cause, I guess.
Right.
And however, that being said, she had hired a private detective in 1998 to try and solve this mystery. And the detective had nothing but nice things to say about her. And according to this private detective and the police, she had done everything to cooperate, had, according to them, wanted to find Don. And so, it's kind of his word with no proof against her word with not really proof. So
yeah.
kind of an iffy situation.
Yikes.
Yikes indeed. This is a good way to put it. She's commented in the past, can you imagine having people think you killed your husband or wife and not being able to prove otherwise? Without a body, there's nothing I can do to clear my name. So she really, like, what does she have to stand on? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, truly, like,
he wants.
Yeah, I mean, am I allowed to feel for her? Like,
yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, someone's accusing her of murdering her husband with no proof.
I know if we were gonna find out, like, in a sudden twist in the episode I missed, that she actually did it. So,
no, that's what I'm saying. We might have to do a future episode on that story because it's quite a tale and there's not really an answer because to this day no one really knows what happened to Don Lewis. Maybe we will find out, but if he was fed to tigers, there probably would be no trace of him, and maybe we'll never know. So,
and what happened with the guy that took the company, the guy that Joe Exotic,
Jeff.
Yeah, what happened with him?
He's coming up in my next couple bullets.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I will actually tell you shortly.
Okay.
And I would go into it now, but then I always tend to ad lib and then I lose my place, and then what happens. It's chaotic.
I hear you.
So anyway, who knows what happened to Don? Maybe we'll find out someday. But back to Joe Exotic. So he's released this music video about Carole, but then it gets to the point where Joe approaches a former strip club owner named James. So we have another J name, by the way, James Garrettson, to ask whether he knows any hitmen. Hey, cool. Awesome. Nice
hey, random question now that I've just met you. Out of curiosity, you know,
hey, what's your favorite color? Also, I have another question. He said he wanted a woman named Carole Baskin dead, and he offered him $10,000 for the job if he could find him a hitman.
Okay.
So, thankfully, this negotiation never went anywhere. Then in February of 2017, Joe asks a new employee named Ashley Webster, who's now working at the zoo, whether she'd be willing to kill Carole Baskin for a few $1,000s. And she awkwardly dismissed the conversation and then immediately quit her job. As a normal person would, because what the fuck, your boss is asking you this. Not a good sign. So she quits the job, this Ashley woman, and she leaves a voicemail for Carole Baskin warning her, hey, just so you know, this Joe, who was my boss, is like running around asking people to kill you. So just a heads up. Anyway, bye. I got to find a new job, I guess. So it doesn't stop there because in late August, the strip club owner, Garrettson, was pulled into an office with Jeff. So this is the other zoo owner guy who owns the zoo. So Jeff has a picture on the computer of Carole Baskin's property in Tampa. And the strip club owner, Garrettson, remembers, he started showing me easy ways to kill her. He showed me Baskin's favored bike paths, pointed out the location of the gift shop at her sanctuary, and showed images of her house. And it turns out Joe also had a thick folder containing info about Carole that could help a hitman go murder her. So now Jeff and Joe are both kind of trying to get rid of Carole, I guess. So Jeff's on board.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why is Jeff so on board?
Probably because the whole the whole operation is being threatened,
Oh, okay.
is my guess.
And it's now under his name, so he's got to care about it.
Is my
And
guess.
didn't he also, I feel like the last episode I saw was when they introduced him. Didn't he have like a wild backstory too?
Yes, he is a criminal. Like
Yeah.
he definitely is a fraud. Like
he's down to murder somebody.
Yeah, he's down to DTM.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. Precisely.
He's more down than I would be. Let's put it that way.
I would say
on a scale, yes. I'm closer to the no
on the gradient,
and he's just like, maybe.
He's like, and that's all I'll say on the matter.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. So thankfully, because Ashley had informed Carole Baskin about the death threat, Baskin had hired an agent named Matthew Bryant to work with her against Joe on the murder for hire case. So she hires this guy named Matthew and is like, someone's trying to kill me. I need help. So as part of Matthew Bryant's plot, the agent, he was able to get the strip club owner Gerritsen on his side. And he said, okay, I know they've been Jeff and Joe have been approaching you to kill Carole Baskin or to find someone to kill her. Will you please be a confidential informant for me and Carole Baskin? So, and to let you know, by this point, the strip club owner guy is not a fan of Joe's. Like, I mean, a lot of people who seem to spend time with him don't become a fan of his, or over time turn from becoming a fan into no longer a fan, I guess.
Right.
So he doesn't like Joe Exotic to begin with. So when this agent is like, okay, will you be an informant for us then? He's like, okay. So he starts wearing recording devices to try and capture Joe's conversations. In the literal first conversation that he captures with Joe.
Okay.
The literal first one on September 29th, 2017, Joe said, she won't stop until somebody shoots her. Her day is coming, man. So he's like, well, this is easier than I thought.
I know. I was going to say, wow, apparently an informant is not a difficult job.
Yeah, at least not with this guy, because they make it look hard in the TV shows. But yeah, he just walked in and said, what about Carole? What do you think about Carole? And that's about all it took. So
that should have been his cue of being like, what do you mean? What do I think of her?
Hang on. Haven't I told you them anyway? Just watch my TV channel.
Right.
So the following months had the biggest snowball effect. So on October 6, 2017, Travis Maldonado died at 23 years old. And this was some footage. I don't know if you saw this episode.
I did see this one.
Yeah, this one's horrific.
It's a gun accident.
A gun accident, precisely. So the footage is shown on the documentary via security cameras that happened to be running at the time. Travis was joking around with the staff. He had a pistol in his hand. He thought the gun wouldn't fire. He fired it at his own head as kind of just a joke, and it went off.
Like, see, it's unloaded.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the horror tale you hear from every parent.
The thing that they say in any gun, not that I've taken one, but that you hear, like, never, always assume a gun is loaded and ready to fire, right?
Well, like, growing up, like, I was always told, like, if a friend says, like, oh, you want to go see my dad's gun? Look, it's not loaded. And then they accidentally shoot themselves.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to assume the worst because things do happen.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. He didn't think it was loaded, and he pointed at his own head, and he died. So really tragic, especially because they had the footage of it. And at this point, Joe kind of began unraveling. He was very close with Travis. It was really disturbing. So in October of 2017, he was expecting a shipment of animals from a circus manager, and he realized he didn't have enough space for the incoming animals. And this is where it gets pretty fucked up again. He decided he was going to shoot 5 of his tigers to make space for the new animals. So
and this is confirmed? He decided to do this?
He said they were aging tigers. However, a longtime zoo employee named Eric Cowell deemed them perfectly healthy, and later testified that there was no reason these tigers needed to be shot. The only reason they were killed is because he was trying to make space for these new animals that were coming in. Ooh. So the zoo hired a new employee named Alan Glover, and Joe immediately noticed that Alan had a teardrop tattoo under his eye. So he's like, oh my God, you've killed someone? Finally,
like,
the guy I've been looking
great,
for.
you're not afraid to, and therefore I can ask you, could
Therefore,
you want another teardrop on your face?
yeah, you'll understand. So he's like, finally, I'll give you $5,000 to kill Carole Baskin. So Garrettson, the informant, hears about this plot, and he records a phone call with Joe where they discuss the plot. In a recording, Joe said, "As long as we don't get caught red-handed, we got this." So in
Okay.
mid-November, smooth. In mid-November, Joe gave Glover $3,000, even though it wasn't the full five that they had negotiated. And Glover took the money and sped off to go kill Carole Baskin. At least that's what they thought. So as far as Garrettson and agent Matthew Bryant knew, Glover was buying a bus ticket, traveling to Tampa to kill Carole Baskin. So they planned to arrest him as soon as they found him getting on the bus. Well, instead of getting on the bus, he went to the airport and flew to South Carolina. So because he basically took the money and ran, in other words. He was like,
Got it.
thank you for the $3,000. Bye. Like he just
Yeah.
left, which like isn't surprising, right? Like you got several $1,000s to not kill anyone. Sounds awesome.
Right. Exactly.
So he disappeared. They didn't know where he was. So Carole Baskin was like, shit, I don't know where this guy is. There's an imminent threat. So she prepared for it by installing blinds, security cameras. She stopped taking her her infamous bike on her usual trail.
Mhm.
And when Alan Glover arrives in South Carolina, he drives down to Florida, but ends up just spending the money on partying and doesn't kill Carole Baskin. So for
Gotcha.
Joe, it became quickly apparent that Glover had scammed him. So Garrettson, who again is the recording guy, is
Mhm.
like, hey, I know a guy named Mark. He is a hitman. You can meet with him and he will kill Carole Baskin. So not shockingly, Mark is an undercover agent, and Joe is
Right.
like, cool. Yeah, let's meet. So on December 8th, 2017, Garrettson records this conversation between Joe and Hitman Mark.
Uh-huh.
And Joe offers him 10 grand, 5,000 up front, saying that bitch has just got to go away. Just follow her into a mall parking lot, cap her, and drive off. So 3 days after meeting with Mark, Joe was getting married again. Fun fact, side note.
Dang.
This time to a young man from Austin named Dylan Passage. So after a fallout with Jeff, the guy who owns the zoo, Joe and Dylan pack up everything and head to Yukon, Oklahoma, and then to a beach in Florida. I don't know what they're doing, a honeymoon? I'm not totally sure.
Okay.
They peace out.
They're jet setting in
They're
some
jet
way.
setting back to Florida, I guess. So on September 7th, 2018, Joe Exotic was arrested for conspiring to murder his arch enemy, 58-year-old big cat rescue owner Carole Baskin, as well as for accusations of illegally killing endangered tigers at his park to make room for new exotic animals. He arrived for his trial in Oklahoma City in March of 2019. And James Garriston, Carole Baskin, and Eric Cowell, who was the employee of the zoo who said that the tigers were not aging, they were healthy, all testified at the trial. Prosecutors showed photos of tiger carcasses that federal agents dug up in the back of the zoo. One Fish and Wildlife Service agent testified that they had been stuffed in their graves like hot dogs in a pack. Like he had just totally
Oh my God.
It was really sad, really sad.
Wow.
And then on April 2nd, 2019, 56-year-old Joe was found guilty of all counts, 2 counts of murder for hire, 17 wildlife charges, and he is still to this day serving a 22-year sentence in prison and is currently being housed at the Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth, Texas, due to a blood immune disorder that he has. So since the life-changing Tiger King documentary released in March of 2020, Joe has most recently applied for a pardon from Joe Biden because he did not receive one after applying for one from Donald Trump. So I guess he's trying again. And he's also looking to publish a memoir. So if anyone's out there with a publishing company, we'll hit him up because his memoir, which is called Tiger King, the official tell-all memoir, is, I guess, looking for a home. That's going to be a wild ride. And Carole herself, as many of us may know, was recently on Dancing with the Stars, and she danced to songs from The Lion King, What's New Pussycat by Tom Jones, and Eye of the Tiger. In a very
No, they did not.
Oh, have you not seen it? It's
No.
painful. I'm going to show it to you. It's painful.
Is she
Painful.
a good dancer?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought you like learn how to dance.
Maybe she was fine, but like, I mean, she's probably better than I am, but it's like just really awkward.
I'm very interested in What's New Pussycat. That's got to be a good one.
I only saw the Eye of the Tiger, but it is something. I mean, she's putting in her work, I guess. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's the story. It didn't even cover it all. Like I said, one of the staffers named Safri lost their arm in 2013 due to a tiger attack at the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fact that Joe Exotic ran for governor and then president, and there's some footage of that. So even that we didn't get to cover because that wasn't even like the wildest part of this whole crime story. So
whoa,
I recommend watching Tiger King on Netflix. And then Louis Theroux also did a really, I haven't watched it, but apparently a really well done documentary called Shooting Joe Exotic. So highly recommend checking those out. And, let's all add the book to the memoir to the book club, the ATWWD book club when it comes out.
Wow.
The end.
Wow.
What a tale.
I still feel like I hit a dead end on that. Like, I feel like I was expecting some sort of closure that I never got from the episodes, but now I'm just like, oh, so he's just in jail and like
he's just in jail.
How long? When does he come out? Do you know?
He's serving a 22-year sentence. I'm not sure how.
Is he like early on, or is he like close? Do you know if he's like in the first half of it?
He
or
was
anything?
charged in 2019, so he's
okay, so he's been there for a while.
This is all very recent. So
got it.
He is serving a 22-year sentence, but like as we know, a lot of times you can get out earlier than that. So we'll see.
Oh, wow. Yikes. I would love a therapist to analyze that person.
Oh, I bet they have. Maybe we should check out YouTube.
Talk about a case study if you're like like doing your like senior thesis or something like in college for psychology, and like if that documentary came out
and rewrite your black hole or time travel document.
If I could teleport anywhere, it would be to Joe Exotic to ask what the fuck is going on.
What is wrong with you? Yeah, it's all very disturbing. Exotic animals aren't pets. They're not domesticated for a reason.
While we're at it, can we offer like an animal abuse hotline really quick?
I guess you could go to 911animalabuse.com.
There you go.
Let me see.
Just thought while we're in the spirit, if you suspect animal cruelty, submit an official tip by phone to the SPCA at 800-540-7722.
I'm not sure if they take exotic pets, but you could try the SPCA.
Maybe that's a domestic situation.
I would check PETA. Probably is more of the like general animals, all sorts.
Let's land with if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
But not to Joe Exotic.
Not
to anyone else.
Or his TV channel. Like maybe somebody who can do something about it.
Yeah. All right, well, cool. Thank you. That was a great story, Christine.
That's quite a wild ride we took today from black holes to Florida and all the way back.
Many different worlds, some might say. Cool. Well, please, just a reminder, please, everybody, if you have not yet, go vote for us for the Webbies, please.
bit.ly/AT or ATWWD vote. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. And voting ends on May 6th. So you have not too much longer. I think a week until the voting closes. So please go do that. And spread the word too. If you know anybody else who listens to the podcast and maybe doesn't know that, have them also go vote. That would be super awesome. So thank you guys so much. That's it for me.
That's it for me too.
All right, all you cool cats and kittens. And
that's
why
we
drink.